All right, so that's it. 2023 is over. It's done. There's no more 2023s left. We have consumed all of them. We ate them.
They were kind of delicious at some point.
It was pretty okay. So we did this last year, and we kind of did it the year before as like a Q&A video, I think, which maybe we'll do another one of those at some point. But we wanted to do our year-end video and talk about all the games we finished this year and all the other creative projects we worked on, and just anything that may be tangentially related to the channel. And this is kind of the long-form, unscripted video that gives some insight into our lives. And I gotta say right off the bat, 2023 was great. Compared to, because I know last year I had said 2022 was god awful, and it kind of was. And 2021 was frankly pretty bad as well. None of the things that made those 2 years bad for me were a problem this year. And so I spent a good portion of the middle of the year complaining because there were things that weren't going how I wanted, and there was still recovering from changing jobs and trying to get back into the steady career path that I had set for myself when I initially left my long-term job. And so, but when it finally came back around to fixing that problem, and then all of the other things that were happening outside of, actual job kind of stuff, it was awesome. And I really owe that a lot to you and some of our best friends that were around for this year, because we just got to do so much cool stuff together, and it was always chill and relaxed and a great source of fun, and was never stressful. I was looking halfway through the year and realizing that my list of games that I had finished was very small, and I was like, oh no, I'm not going to have a lot of finished games this year at all, because last year there was a period of time where I straight up was like not working at all, and I finished like 3 games in that amount of time. And then there was the year before that, 2021, we had COVID, and I finished like 3 games while we were sick with COVID. So this year didn't have any of that, so my list is pretty small. But I gotta say, like, this year was such a good year for all of our little fandoms. Like Fire Emblem Engage came out, Fate Samurai Remnant came out, over on the Zoids channel. I neglected the Zoids channel quite a bit this year, but as far as like new stuff coming out, we had the Zoids 40th anniversary, and the HMM Koenig Wolf came out, which I've been looking forward to forever.
So,
what?
We got Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah. With it's so funny that I picked when I did to start doing the Transformers video game retrospective, because I, as a Transformers fan, have been eating good this last year and a half or so, because they've been making new figures of old characters from the parts of the franchise that I love the most. We got new War for Cybertron figures, new Armada characters, and Rise of the Beast came out, and the Transformers videos I've been making have been really well received. And I made 5 main channel video essay type videos this year, and I didn't think I made that many, because I had a good chunk of the year, and you can see this if you look at the upload dates of the Revenge of the Fallen video to the War for Cybertron video to the Boss Road 2 video. You'll see there's a massive gap of time between those 2 releases. But I didn't think I had even made that many, but I made the Gungrave one, the Basra 1 video, the Revenge of the Fallen video, the War for Cybertron video, and the Basra 2 video that just released a few days ago. And I technically have made another video that is almost ready to be published, and will be published pretty much the first week of the new year. And it is one that I'm very, very excited about. It's a 90-minute like documentary style video on a topic that I typically don't talk about on the channel. But the people that know what it is are already pretty excited about it, and I think it'll do pretty well.
I think so.
And then over on the Yu-Gi-Oh channel, I started making those deck primers, which were like long form, high production quality videos talking about an entire strategy, like every viable card you could possibly play, the history of the release of the strategy, different combos, strengths and weaknesses. It's like, it's the kind of thing that people in the community for the game have been asking for a long time. And of course, I'm not a knowledgeable enough player to do every strategy in the game that way, just the ones I'm really passionate about. And the one I did for the, I was eating good as a 5Ds fan, as a Jack Atlas fan, to get like the Jack Atlas structure deck and do like the hour and a half long deck primer on the strategy. And it did well in terms of views, and lots of people were really, really receptive to it. Lots of good comments. And again, even as a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, eating good this year, like the Duelist Nexus, like new Synchron stuff, new Infernoble stuff, the Unchained stuff was good. The Chimera stuff was cool. We had the Fire Duelist pack come out. We had the Trap Trick structure deck at the beginning of the year was great. Got a lot of new players into the game with that. The amount of time we spent playing with our best friends and the friends we've taught how to play the game has been just wonderful. Doing the draft cubes and building the decks from bulk has been so much fun. And then
Nimalera.
Yeah, Dreaming Nimalaria being a really funny theme that came out this year, and just the Rarity Collection being one of the best products ever released for the TCG.
The Rarity Collection slapped.
I actually...
it was great.
Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about like the highs and lows for Yu-Gi-Oh this year, because the highs were high, but the lows are also super low, and not because of like the gameplay of the game, but because of the products they were releasing, because they released some products that were absolute duds. And I don't mean like TCG products, I mean like the $1,300 platinum rare Dark Magician thing that they're like, buy now, it's selling out soon, and like nobody wanted this thing. Like this bougie like fashion statement, and like they had a collab with like, what is it, Adidas or Nike, like the shoe collab.
Yeah, the shoe collab. Those looked cool though. I would not have bought them though.
You're like, I'm gonna buy like expensive ass shoes so I can get a special print of Dark Magician. It's the weirdest.
Goofy.
It's the weirdest kind of pandering. And I don't want to get on a huge tangent about this, but I feel like they wanted to appeal to how there are some big celebrities that play Magic the Gathering. Famously, Post Malone is the guy that bought the Lord of the Rings One Ring card for like $2 million. And I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh wanted some of that like bougie fashion statement, like attachment to their brand, to like elevate the value of the brand a little bit, but it was stupid and nobody wanted it. But yeah, absolutely wonderful year to be, in my opinion. And just for me specifically, I was eating so good being a fan of that franchise and a fan of that card game. And like I said, just across all three channels, just ripe with good topics I wanted to make videos about. And even though the creative desire wasn't always there, I think I'll just look back on this year very fondly with everything that came out and everything that I was able to do creatively with it. And hell, even we spent a non-insignificant amount of time like going back and rehoning our crafting skills and doing new cosplay stuff. You helped me tremendously with patterning and with the cape for everything for Brave Alm, and made a set of armor that's probably the one I'm the most proud of anything I've ever made.
Yeah, we did a great job on that. When I said I got you, I was like, not even joking.
Yeah, so you, as well as our closest friends, got to attend a full day of Dragon Con for the first time, which I've never done before. With a badge, being able to go in, and hopefully 2024 it'll be an entire weekend.
It will be an entire weekend because of AWA dates.
Yeah, and I never miss Dragon Con. I go every single year, but this was your first year doing a full day, and it was the same way for a lot of our closest friends.
No, I did last year. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And you weren't able to really enjoy it, but
yes.
This year you were, as in addition to some of our best friends who never got to go as well. I feel like that is hopefully a memorable experience that will stick with them for a while.
Right.
But yeah, I just, there were parts of the year where I sure was a negative Nancy and did a lot of complaining and was not happy with the current state of things, and there was a lot of anxiety with, if things were going the right direction. But looking back now, as we're coming up to the end of the year, I'm looking back on the year very fondly.
Yes.
So, what do you think?
So, game-wise, my list is much smaller than last year. Last year was definitely Michelle Plays Games years. This year, not so much. This year, I finished 2. And I started a couple, and then I just resumed playing a lot of Pokemon. I really got into shiny hunting, so I spent a lot of time shiny hunting. But it was also probably the best year for me art-wise, because I ended up just doing a lot of stuff. Like at the beginning of the year, I started like reference sheets for my OCs. I set up the toy house, which is basically like a little directory of all my characters. They all have profile pictures for all of like my Yu-Gi-Oh OCs.
It's like a bio section of like all of the details of the. It's almost like a wiki bio section on
like
the characters.
It is like a wiki bio section of all my characters, which not every single one of them have like descriptions yet. I'm still in the process of adding that because writing is hard. But not only that, I did a tarot card collab with 2 friends, and it was very interesting. It's not quite finished yet. Hopefully we'll be seeing the end results of that soon, so I can at least go look what I was a part of. It was pretty cool. It's like artists all around the world with the themes of flowers and the tarot cards, and I got the star. So it was a lot of fun doing that. It pushed me out of my comfort zone, so I really enjoyed that. But not only that, at the beginning of next year, I will be opening up my Etsy store because I ended up getting a lot of stuff done as far as merch-wise. I'll have some Yu-Gi-Oh stuff and some Pokemon stuff, which is not surprising seeing how those two really are personality.
Yeah.
I'll have some Yu-Gi-Oh GX keychains that are in a cupcake form, which I'll send you a picture if you want to post it at all.
Sure.
Edit. And I have Eevee lollipops that are just the little heads on the little lollipop. They're super cute. One side is the regular, one side is the shiny. And then I am in the process of working on sticker sheets as well that are going to be like witch inspired Eevees, and they're really cute so far, and which is really hard for me to say because I don't like my art sometimes, but I'm really super proud of all the stuff whereas I set down some games, I did a lot art wise. I also started really getting into crocheting again. So I've made a scarf. I'm in the process of making a skirt. I plan on playing around with making stuffed animals next year. I purchased a how-to for all the different evolutions, so I plan on doing that. So, and cosplay. I mean, I got Brave Celica done for MomoCon. I learned how to make capes this year. Capes was the theme that I learned this year, so... But overall, artistic-wise for me, which is important, I got a lot done. So I'm really happy with how that went. I was very artsy-fartsy this year, so I'm very happy how that went, and I'm very excited to open up the Etsy store and for everybody to see my little goobers and whatnot, and I hope everybody likes them.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, and I know you'll relate to this because I know we're on the same page as far as this goes, but it's one of those things where when you are making what you want to make, even if it's not turning out exactly how you envisioned in your head, it is so liberating to be making it and like getting it out of your system and being like, I'm doing my craft. I'm not just thinking about doing my craft.
I think about it a lot, and sometimes I don't do it because by the time I get home, it's either out of my brain or I'm tired.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get an idea in the morning and then it's like
yeah.
Come back. Where did you go? I like that idea, but I can't remember
Yeah,
it.
you literally have to write this stuff down as soon as it pops into your head. Like, it's so bad.
Started just I have like a little thing in my little app where it's like my notes app going, here's an idea that you thought of. Will I do it? Maybe. Who knows? I also got commission set up on my Ko-fi. Ko-fi? Coffee?
Coffee.
Whatever. Coffee. But I got commission set up. I'll probably reapproach that at the beginning of the year as well and tweak up and update art, but they're up, which is something that's never happened before. So, yippee! Like, I just pushed myself out of my comfort zone a lot this year.
Speaking of working on your craft and actually making art, I guess we can talk about. I want to really quick talk about like some of our favorite content that we consume this year from other artists and video content creators and etc. And I feel bad doing this almost because it is so weird for a like small content creator to be celebrating like big content creators when I'd love it to be the other way around. And I would also I feel bad that I didn't actively go seek out more smaller channels and religiously watch their stuff. And that's something that I think I'm going to do better at with next year. There's quite a few smaller channels that I subscribe to on the Yu-Gi-Oh channel where it's like that subscription bar is going to be used to keep track of people that have a small and similar subscriber base to my own over there.
Yeah.
But in terms of like main channel stuff, like it was really just my buddy Caleb over at Flashing Blades, who he and I have been in lockstep with all of our more high production quality videos, and he watches all of mine and I watch all of his, and we give each other feedback, and his growth has been pretty significant because he's really found his niche. Like all the Mega Man Battle Network stuff has been extremely lucrative for him, and he's just been doing really good over there.
Very passionate.
Yeah, unbelievably passionate.
Passionate about what he likes.
But in terms of YouTube videos, I will remember this year for like videos I will no doubt watch in the future where it's like, oh, I that video makes me think of 2023 forever. I've got quite a few because obviously there's like other big name video essay type content creators that I look up to and have been a bit of an inspiration, and they made some great videos this year, and I think I talked about this last year and the year before, but I want to say, I could be wrong, but I want to say it was like 2021, like the Q&A video where somebody asked like, what were some of your favorite YouTube videos this year, and I had to talk about it, and that's what's made me think about this ever since, and why I've been keeping track.
We talked about it last year as well, like people that we like to watch, so.
But so this year it was, so in 2022, Super Eye Patch Wolf made two like absolutely phenomenal videos, the Garfield video and the Berserk video.
Yes. That
will live rent-free in my head forever. And then I was like, I haven't heard anything from him for a while, I haven't seen anything. And then out of nowhere he comes at the beginning of this year, I think it was like March, April, May, around there, with a video about a little game called Fear and Hunger. And our friend Sam was with us at the time, and he's like, "Oh God, I'm familiar with this game," and so he that's probably the sound of Aster fucking with the Christmas ornament. But
that sure is what that noise is.
So this video was really well made, but also resulted in this like obsession with this game where I watched him stream it, and I was so into the lore and everything, and the way that he describes it as a part immersive sim, part survival horror game really piqued my interest, because obviously I love the immersive sim style games, even though I hate that term. Some of my favorite games like fall into that subgenre, and so a good chunk of this year, of the summer of this year in particular, was coming home and seeing a re-upload of one of his streams and watching it over dinner or something like that. Like that was a very, very formative memory of this
Very
year.
interesting dinner video, but
Yeah.
very, very fascinating game. Extremely fascinating game.
Yeah. The one I have is so there was a bit of a controversy that happened earlier this year with a certain online influencer piece of garbage. So everybody's favorite piece of garbage, real man Andrew Tate got arrested in Romania for charges allegedly being involved in human trafficking and sexual assault and stuff like that. And so there was a lot of discussion about him online, and one of the video essay guys who I like watching, he just goes by Sean, is just his name. He made a video talking about the cultural impact that guys like Andrew Tate have, and he made a video kind of facetiously called like "How to Be a Real Man." And this was such a good video because it is very sympathetic to the kinds of thoughts that a lot of young boys have about like masculinity and how it can sometimes be really fragile, or if they have a less than whole like image of themselves, then they will compensate for that by being jerks.
Yeah.
And they look up to guys like Andrew Tate that are in really good shape and have a lot of money and have fast cars.
Successful.
And they don't see how like superficial all of that stuff is. Mm-hmm. And so he was talking about, he's like, what are the virtues of what a man should aspire to? And he got a lot of feedback. He asked a lot. I'll have to show you this video because I don't think he watched it. But
I feel like I did though.
He asked a lot of people like what their example of like a good male role model would be. And a lot of people gave a lot of different answers. A lot of fictional characters. A lot of Aragorn from Lord of the Rings.
You know what? Valid.
Yeah. And he gave some personal anecdotes about some people that he knows, like his father and that kind of thing. It just made me think a lot about people that I know in my life and some of the values that I hold. And I just love how he closes out the video too, because he's like, don't take advice from people like Andrew Tate, because all they want is your money. Like if you're the guy if you are paying another man to tell you what women think about you, then you're the sucker. It's like,
yep.
if you're a guy and you want to know what women think is attractive, then you should probably ask a woman and not ask a loser like him. So I just thought that was a great video. I've rewatched it several times throughout the year. Obviously Dan Olson at Folding Ideas made two really good documentaries this year. The first one was on the metaverse as a concept, which is a continuation almost of like the NFT video, where because there's actually footage in the NFT video of him on this online game called Decentraland, which is a really, really, really bad like Second Life clone, basically, that is made to integrate with a lot of the like blockchain bullshit. And he's just making a mockery of how there's so much narrative and myth making around that game, and what it's the potential, it's the future, and like it failed to deliver on all of the most basic promises. And then the other video was about meme stocks, particularly what happened with GameStop and Bed Bath & Beyond in 2021. And I did not know half of what I had. Obviously, I knew that there were people trying to like pump GameStop up to like just screw over the feds and the hedge funds and all that. But
people that clearly did not know how the stock market worked.
Oh yeah, like like painfully so.
Painfully, people that did not know how that shit worked.
But what I did not know is like the layers of irony and the fact that it's like a doomsday cult. And it's a doomsday cult, it's a gambling addiction, and it is like like there are people who invested so much money in these meme stocks that they lie to their spouses and their friends about how much they spend on it. Like it's literally a gambling addiction
is
where
so
they go.
awful.
It was one of the best
awful.
videos made all year for sure. I could not believe
God,
the lengths to which people went to for that like clear and obvious scam, and how they're still holding these stocks that they've lost so much money on just out of spiteful irony. Like there's actually no monetary gain for them to continue to hold it, but they hold it just because it's funny. Hello. So I stumbled upon a new content creator who I never watched prior to this year, but he goes by FD Signifier. He's actually a black content creator based out of Atlanta, based out of here where we live. And I first saw him in Super Eye Patch Wolf's influencer courses video. He's one of the guys he interviewed when talking about analytics and all that. And I'm going through his whole backlog of videos, and they're just so good. He's an
educator.
He's an educator by trade, and so he has a way of explaining things that is very thorough and very easy to understand. And he just has some really good takes on a lot of social issues. But he made a video talking about anime and how anime has you have seen this video because I showed it.
It was a very good video
when some friends of ours were in town, fellow friends of the channel who, if you're watching, you've seen this video and you know where I'm going with this. Where he's talking about anime and how it's like a safe haven for young boys that don't feel like they fit in, like socially and culturally. And is that necessarily a good outlet for them, or what are the benefits to it, and where can it be like creepy garbage that reinforces some toxic views of women and stuff like that, and all the nuances within that. He does a great job talking about that, and then he spends the last third of the video dunking on Attack on Titan and how the last part of Attack on Titan's story turned into a bit of a disaster, and the main character turned into this edgelord cool kid who just
kind of sucks.
Just represents some really reprehensible values, and I find it I really find this ironic. Where I had a coworker at one point who their favorite anime was Attack on Titan, and they like loved Eren Yeager and everything. I'm not gonna say they were completely uncritical of him. I think they were critical of him to an extent, but I just find that very funny that like they were a certain personality type, and now knowing what I know about that story, I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That checks out.
Yeah.
Great video. Recommend anybody watch that. Right at the end of, I guess it was like, what, 2 weeks ago? Just like right at the end of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, last like.
It was like a month ago at this point almost.
Yeah,
it was
the last month.
The H-Bomber guy plagiarism video dropped, and I didn't expect like right at the end of the year. It's almost like how certain movies that are like chasing the Oscars will release at the end of the year kind of thing. Well, I did not expect one of the best videos of 2023 to release right at the end of the year, but it's an almost 4-hour long video that to me, as somebody that makes YouTube videos, is one of the most important videos to come out this year, like in terms of its cultural impact, because just spreading the problem is there's not a lot of institutional power that will remove videos for plagiarism or punish people on YouTube for plagiarism, especially if you are a like top 1%er who's just blatantly stealing smaller content creators' ideas and videos for money. There's no one that's going to punish you, and so it's like the responsibility of the people watching the videos to punish these people socially.
It's the personal responsibility of their viewers.
Yeah,
basically.
which is honestly a terrible situation to be in, and right. I don't like that that's the case, but that's why that video is so important. It's like when there are big name content creators engaging in theft and plagiarism, it needs to be called out, and it needs to be the only way they can be stopped is if their viewer base stops watching and the videos stop being a viable source of money and
It's
income.
basically just like if you didn't agree with a company and you stop by. It's a boycott, basically.
Yeah.
But it's a difficult boycott for some people.
Yeah, and I've heard some people that are like, oh, I'm not watching a 4 hour long video. I don't care what it's about. And I'm like, gotta disagree. Bad take. Don't agree one bit. I'm saying if you make YouTube videos, or if you make anything on the internet, really, you really owe it to yourself to know what's going on with that. And because it does a couple of things. It recontextualizes your perspective on what you make, because it makes you like very overly conscious of where you're sourcing things from. Because when I was doing the Boss Pro 2 video, I was like really overthinking like where I'm getting the sources from. Like, is this going to be seen as a quote from this person? Is it going to be a quote from this book? Like, where am I getting this information about these historical figures and stuff like that? But I relaxed about it because it's well documented, like real history. It's not like I had to do any like original research for that. It's a matter of public record. What happened with a lot of those historical figures. It also makes you just so much more proud of what you have made.
Yes.
Because if you have made a video that was your script, your performance, your footage, your editing, just your production, then you made a piece of art, and it's 100% your creation. And you didn't have to, you weren't a scumbag that resorted to stealing other people's work for money. And there are certain people that he mentions in the video that were just like hell-bent on becoming a popular content creator no matter the cost. And so they just trend chased and hopped from different popular format to different popular format, regardless of what it was. And I just think that anybody that makes videos needs to know what's going on with that. Like they need to see that to really know if this is what they want to do.
Right.
And then probably my favorite video this year, which I did show you, and I know you related to quite a bit, was
yes.
There's another sort of left-wing commentary YouTuber called Thought Slime, and he made a video about art, and it was about the struggles of trying to be an artist on the internet, and how people think that they will never be a good enough artist when being good enough is just kind of arbitrary, and that the idea that your art needs to be monetizable to be real art or to be successful is a awful brain poison that is cancerous to creativity, and that you should make something purely because you want to, not because there's any monetary incentive there. Just the whole thing of like, hey, I want to make art, but how do I skip the hard part where I, make something bad and have to put it out there for people to criticize? It's like,
Listen,
no, you don't get to do that.
Yeah, I had to deal with the cringe. You had to deal with the cringe. Like, I had to do cringy Sonic OCs to get where I'm at.
Yeah.
You have to do cringy shit to get where you're at.
Yeah.
Because it's not fair. It's not fair. I will say that also got me working on my original story again, because it's like, I've taken a long enough break on it. Like, I need to finish it. I want to finish it. Even if it doesn't do anything, I just want it done. So I'm slowly working on that as well. Maybe we'll see stuff next year about it. But
Yeah.
I'm not promising shit.
And he has this metaphor in the video of like letting the poison out. And it's like we said, if all you're doing is thinking about making your craft and not actually making it, then it just festers in your head, and you don't ever get that creative expression. But like once you've made it, even if what you have made is not as good as what you envisioned in your head, you've still like freed yourself from ever having to think about it again. You've really put it behind you. And I found that just so incredibly helpful. And it's correct, because like I don't think there's been a single video I've ever made that has turned out how I initially envisioned it or conceptualized it when I thought of it. But it's because I made it, it felt good to be like, that is now behind me. I made that. It's done. And I just think that that's what people should do when they're struggling creatively, is like just make something. Like
something is better than nothing.
Like making something that's bad, that's embarrassing, is what being a successful artist looks like. Like not making anything at all and like keeping your ideas in your head is what failure looks like.
Yes.
And he said you're never going to impress anybody by how cool your idea is. You're only going to impress somebody by by putting yourself out there and actually making something.
Yep.
So, and people will. You can make something great, or you can make something awful, and that's all a matter of taste. And people will still make fun of you regardless.
Yes.
I think he uses the example of was it Rob Liefeld, the Marvel artist, and he says people scrutinize this guy and say he's terrible at art, but like, look at the shit. Like, could you do that? Could I do that? Like. No,
I know for a fact that I couldn't, because I just don't line art like that. Like the black line art that he specifically uses is not something I'm good at.
Yeah. So, but yeah, fantastic video. I've sent that video to everybody that I know that does art, and I said that this video is a real kick in the ass to anybody who is struggling creatively, because it's a bit harsh in the sense where it's like if you can't do the part where you incrementally suck less and embarrass yourself, then don't do this. Like do something else that you, if you don't have fun doing it, do something else you do have fun at. Like no one's forcing you to do this. And that's a very that's like a harsh truth that people need to hear. They need to have that reality check, that slap in the face of like, are you going to do this or not? Yes. And that was just such an effective wake up call to me, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm such a I guess tough love person. I am kind of a little bit of a, I will give you my honest opinion a little bit bluntly, because it's hard. Like it's there. And so like a video like that really works well for me, because it's literally just a shut up or
put up or shut up.
Put up or shut up. And it works for me because like I respond well with tough love as well. It may be like, but it makes me think and go, fine, yeah, you're right. Ugh.
Yeah, especially when it doesn't come across as hateful and it comes across as sincere.
Yes.
But were there any other videos that you watched this year that you wanted to talk about?
So I love the contrast of me and you and our video consumptions, because we obviously consume things vastly different. So like I was thinking about it, and I have like this two little genres, three really, but I have like the detailed horror, mystery, criminal stuff that I listen to, like Dreading and Explore With Us and stuff like that. So there's those that I like to listen as background noise on a lot of things. Then there's the artsy stuff that I watch. So I will never make a doll. I don't make dolls. I love watching doll making videos. There's the Moonlight Jewel that she's made a lot of really cool dolls this year. Enchantrium, I think is their name. And they did a whole Zodiac series this year that has been so cool to watch. Looking forward to their videos. I got into Mariah Elizabeth, who does like the most pastel rainbow vomit greatness, and it's nothing that I would make, but it's fun to watch other people make. And then I also got into some smaller artists like Moonlight and KP Creations. And KP does all of the Pokemon plushes, like the realistic ones, and she did like Mushroom. But I also watched a lot of a cosplayer named Sarah Spaceman, who is an East Coast cosplayer. She attends a lot of the cons, but she details in a very humble way. Like, I find her very humbling and very easy to listen to. On how she makes her cosplays and what's her inspiration and what she looks for and just kind of her thought process. I haven't watched any of her, like, she just did like the Winter Miku stuff. I really want to watch the wig one because I eventually need to learn how to do wigs. So it's kind of cool. Like, I have like the creative, artsy people that I watch, and then criminal, and then Pokemon.
Yeah.
I really got into. So, shiny hunting, I was doing it. I was watching people in it. I like it. It's fun. So, PM7 has been enjoyable to watch. I started watching Shiny Catherine. She's fun to listen to. She, the way she patterns all of her stuff. But I also started watching someone named Party Arlie. And she's just really quiet and just kind of fun to listen to in the background because she's quiet and not crazy. But then I get I don't even know how I stumbled upon it, where it's like competitive competitions, which like one of the guys named Nintendo Chaos. He's just chaos. And I don't know what it is about the chaos. And I'm like, I'm about it. He's kind of cringe. But in a way where I'm like, he's unapologetically cringe, and I appreciate it. And it's just fun listening to. And his synergy with all the people that he has on his channel has just been kind of fun. So, like, I've just been enjoying, like, this was a very Pokemon year for me. And it probably will be forever, because every time I'm like, Pokemon.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I just like the stark differences between our video consumptions between the two of us.
Yeah, well, you also, I mean, I think you've been watching a lot more streamers than I have. I do have, like, the same, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Content creators that I'll rewatch. There's been a couple that I've lost as a little bit of interest in, mainly because they have, I won't name them, but there's two in particular who I have lost interest in watching because they have pivoted almost exclusively to Master Duel content, and they clearly have like a pandering to like children, and it just is the kind of lazy lowest common denominator content that I don't respect. But everybody else is still like, there's a good like 4 or 5 others that I still watch very, very regularly and all of their reoccurring series that they have, and a lot of them, appear on each other's channels all the time too. But
yeah, I also watched Vinny's Pikmin 4 playthrough, which was a treat, a delight. Honestly, it made me want to play the demo, and I eventually want the game as well to play myself, which is not normal because I did not want to play any of the other Pikmin games after the first game. I was like, I'm good. I don't really like Pikmin that much. But playing the fourth game, I was like, you know what? Maybe this was a little Michelle skill issue thing, and maybe I will like Pikmin if I play it now.
Yeah. So you ready to get into the games we finished this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's all the things that I really watched. Just vibing, really.
Yeah. I did go. I went to the theater to see movies literally only twice this year, and I did a text review on both films that I saw. So those are on the Blogspot account. So I won't get into that, but only twice. I didn't go like every week like some people did, but.
I did say, as far as like consuming media or whatnot, I went to the Shinedown concert.
Yeah,
that was Papa
you did
Roach
say you were going
and
to mention that. Yeah,
Spirit Box. Which, if Shinedown came every year, I would go to every fucking show. When I say he's, and it's like a thing that me and my mom do. We both really like the band Shinedown, and their music's really good. It gets me through a lot of stuff. Like, it gets, like, this last album that they did really hits, like, close to home on a lot of, like, how I felt growing up. So, really good. If you haven't listened to them, give them a listen. If you don't like them, I don't want to hear it. Don't.
It's like
that's good that you don't, but I am obsessed. I don't want to hear it.
I love that. It's just, and it's like you can say that about so many things where it's like, if you like this, let me know. If you don't, keep it to yourself.
Shut up. I don't care. Like you don't. You're entitled to not liking something, but I don't. If I like it, I don't want to hear it. Like let me enjoy my thing in peace.
Yeah. So I guess the first game I have to talk about, I finished right at the beginning of 2023. It was right in January, I believe. It was very, very soon after the new year. And it is really shocking that it took this long to finish, because normally with this series, I will have the single player mode finish within like a couple of days of its release. So for it to take like a year and 3 months after the game came out to finish its single player mode is really going to clue you in on how I felt about the quality of the game. And that, of course, is Halo Infinite, the possibly the last Halo game we will get. We'll see. But so there were parts of this I really liked, of course. That it was, and it's well made for the most part. There were parts of it that I liked. But it is, even though I think it is decent, it is my least favorite game in the series by a very wide margin. Like it is ranked significantly lower. And I know I have some friends. I'm gonna call out some of my friends here and talk about their preferences. But like I have some friends that won't touch Halo 5, the previous one, because it didn't have local split screen. And I'm like, I get why that would be, but I don't get why that would be a deal breaker, because I enjoyed that game. I know that game is divisive for a lot of people. And to kind of let you know where the franchise was at when it got to this point, because it's a journey to get there. But like, and we've sat down, and I think you've played through me now the first 3 levels of the first game. And at some point in this...
4?
First 3. I know exactly where we're at.
I don't know where we're at.
At some point soon we will finish the first game, so
Yeah.
you can see, like, because the first game, even as like, not even including the whole expanded story, like the first game as a complete package, I think is still worth it, and is a good like indication if you'll like the rest of the series.
It's aged very well.
It really has.
It's aged very well.
So Bungie, the original developers of Halo, made a trilogy, and they had a contract deal with Microsoft to make. After they made Halo 3, they wanted to leave Microsoft. They didn't want to have an exclusive publishing deal for Microsoft anymore. And Microsoft said, "Sure, but you got to make 2 more games for us."
Okay.
And so they made Reach, the game that's on the thing over there, and they made a spin-off expansion game to Halo 3. And then they dipped, and then they made Destiny and all the other stuff. Well, there were people from Bungie that stayed behind at Microsoft and made a dedicated studio to continue the Halo franchise, because it was a very profitable franchise for the Xbox. And so that's how we got Halo 4 and 5 and this one. And most people will tell you that the series has not been as good after that separation.
Yeah.
Which is true, although different people you ask will tell you different things. They're all like well made, but there's just a different feel, a different character to them with the way the story is presented that comes across as it's like missing. It's just missing something. It's like missing the original magic that it had. But
I actually know what that feeling is like.
Yeah.
From Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons,
yeah.
actually.
It's very similar to that,
Yeah.
although from what it sounds like, it's even more dire with the Story of Seasons situations, because you have like old Harvest Moon fans will not even touch the new Harvest Moon games.
They're bad.
It's literally like a irreconcilable fork between like old Harvest Moon and new Story of Seasons versus old Harvest Moon and new Harvest Moon. Whereas you don't really have that choice with this. You're kind of stuck with the new ones. But so Halo 4 came out in 2012. And Halo 5 came out at the end of 2015, so not that long afterward. Infinite, again, 2015, 2021.
That's a big jump.
Eternity before this game came out. But also, the state that the franchise was in when Halo 5 came out was unapproachable to the average person, because you had a bunch of games worth of lore. You had books, you had live action series, you had web series, you had comics, you had
So much.
you had radio dramas, you had all
Holy
this
crap.
lore, and Halo 5's story was predicated on you knowing a lot of that lore.
Oh, God.
Like the very beginning, and I enjoyed that because I knew a lot of the lore.
Right.
But like, Halo 5 literally begins with the very first mission is you kill a character who was the main villain of 3 books. Like three full-length novels. This character has been the antagonist, and you kill him in the first mission in Halo 5. And so that put them in, and because Halo 5 had like a mixed reception, that put them in a really awkward position going into this game. And so they kind of hit the reset button, and the status quo of the world that Infinite takes place in is so different. Like, so much time has passed in world, and there's a lot of things that are ambiguous, but you are meant to believe that like dozens of named characters from throughout this is getting a little bit of spoilers, but dozens of named characters from throughout the series are dead. Entire organizations are destroyed. There are all of that complex lore that you didn't understand in the last game. Don't worry about it because it's all fucking gone anyway. Is basically what they did with this game. They tried to hit the reset button, and to the people who were invested in that stuff, you could be like, oh, well, that's so tragic. I'm invested because of drama. But it doesn't really feel like that because you know the external reasons for why they did that, and
Right.
it just comes across as them like panicking, trying to patchwork the story back together.
Panic.
Yeah, and so I just didn't appreciate that. They're pulling new lore out of their ass to continue the story. The story of this game is not complete. Like, it finishes with more questions than answers.
Oh, that's not good.
The gameplay was fun, but what I didn't like about it is that it's the semi-open world, like, looter shooter kind of thing. And the other games in the series had a very, very, very tight balance. What difficulty you were playing on, what weapons you used, what enemies you were fighting, it was all extremely finely tuned. Like, you could count on a certain weapon to deal a certain amount of damage on a certain enemy on a certain difficulty. It was all very, very finely tuned. And in this, it's like, oh, well, it's open world, so you might run into an enemy that's like a higher class than what you found before because you're not at...
Where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, and it's like, it just doesn't... It feels off. I don't know that I like that about it. But yeah, it's okay. It is by far my least favorite game in the series. And I'm not in a big hurry to replay it unless it's on co-op with a friend.
Possibly me.
If we can even do it locally, because I don't even know if we can do that one locally.
Oh, shit.
Okay. But I would much rather... Again, my goal is to get you through like at least the trilogy, because I think
Yeah.
that's where you'll find the story most enjoyable.
Do you want to talk about a couple more of your games before I go in, or do you want me to go ahead and start?
I will cover one more because I think it will give you a good segue into one of the things you've been doing this year. So last
Which
year,
thing?
you'll see.
Okay.
So last year I talked about how I went back and got the Platinum Trophy in a little game called Yomawari Night Alone for the PS Vita. And so I, immediately after I did that, I started working on the Platinum Trophy for the second game, Yomawari Midnight Shadows on the Vita, and I got that at the beginning of this year as well. So this game is a pretty significant improvement over the first one, and I'll kind of talk about how I feel about this trilogy as a whole later, because I also played and beat the third game this year. But this Platinum Trophy was a lot easier to get than the one for the first game, because the one for the first game, I had to like leave the Vita idling for hours because one of the trophies is to have like 50 hours on the clock on your run, and it's like it's not a 50-hour game
There's
at
not
all.
enough
So,
content for you to do that.
literally the story and all of the other post game content was significantly less than 50 hours. But
Jesus.
I did it. I mean, and that kind of made me think of. You've now seen the entirety of this first game of Night Alone because we played you and I played it with one of our friends, and you're doing like a bunch of shiny hunting and stuff this year, which to me is very similar to like going for platinum trophies and stuff like that, because it's to be completely sincere, it's kind of meaningless because there's no tangible reward for it. It's literally just a like. Me having the little thing that says Platinum Trophy and you having the Pokemon that's a different color is literally just for the satisfaction of overcoming something difficult and getting like a little acknowledgement for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, so like, what? The end of last year, I made a little shiny hunt Discord. That's just it's like a private one with all of like my close friends that all like to shiny hunt. And it's supposed to for us to also coordinate Sword and Shield raids because those are better than Scarlet and Violet's raids. And but also like the shiny odds are better when you're doing the dens in the DLC. The problem, so I did a lot of shiny hunting in Scarlet, which is funny because I did kind of complain about the shiny hunting not having the little noise that Arceus had. But shiny hunting in this game is actually a lot of fun. I very much so enjoy the thrill of the hunt. But there's also things where there was extremely frustrating things. We were driving back from Comic-Con, and I tripped on a Snom, and it just so happened to be shiny.
Yeah.
I also obtained this Blorbo, so he was my good luck.
The same day.
Same day.
Yeah.
He's my good luck Blorbo. I want to also, at the end of the video, just kind of show off all the plushies I got this year, because I got a lot this year. But, so it's like, the shiny noises are good for those, because he doesn't change that much. I found a shiny Halucha in the goddamn wall. Like, I'm shiny hunting Lucario, and I see it clip. Couldn't even tell that it was shiny by the clip. Hit it, it's shiny. I could have missed that. Why is this game built on bubblegum and hopes and dreams and stupidity? It was part of the reason why I didn't buy the DLC up front, but now with the second part, it's kind of like Sword and Shields, where it's like, the second part's where the money is at.
Yeah.
The second part is really the reason why I'm going to want to buy it. I bought Sword and Shields originally at the front, but because I like Sword and Shield, like despite everybody complaining about Sword and Shield when it came out, I've always consistently liked it, except for the story's kind of mid. But it was a good game, and the DLC was really good. It was worth the money. So I did a lot of shiny hunting in Scarlet. Part of the reason why we didn't do as many raids in Sword and Shield was because 2 people got the Tears of the Kingdom switches and did not realize that you had to transfer your Pokemon data a certain way. So 2 of them lost all their Sword and Shield data as well as their Arceus, and I can't remember if one or the other saved their Scarlet stuff. Fox saved her Scarlet. Corey did not.
Yeah.
So they both had to restart. Corey went through and already beat Sword and Shield. She kind of cheesed it by putting Pokemon Home stuff in it, but so
for real quick for context there, because this is something that's existed in a way since the 3DS era as well, where you can if you had the base model Switch and then you got the OLED Switch because the Tears of the Kingdom Special Edition one came out and you wanted to migrate all of your account data from one console to the other, the system will let you do that. But specifically, Pokemon will not let you migrate Pokemon because it is worried about duplication glitches.
It's designed to
So-
prevent people from doing duplications.
As a result, they want you to use that outside peripheral, like Pokemon Home, to back up all your Pokemon before you do that, and they did not.
Well, there's also
know
a
that,
certain
right?
way they have it in the cloud or
Yeah.
whatnot. So there was, I don't know the details because I didn't get the tier. I don't usually go for special edition Swishes, which
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame anybody for wanting the Tears of the Kingdom one because it's gorgeous. But I didn't want to spend the money on it. The only good thing is that Fox got it and I got the Switch for you. So
Yeah.
you did get a Switch this year. But we did do some raids in Sword and Shield, and I was very fortunate. I got I believe I got Shiny Rayquaza this year. I know Devin got Yveltal. Yveltal?
The bacon.
Bacon.
Yeah.
Bacon. But Shiny Luck was really good, except for Glaceon. I'll one day get Glaceon, but I'll probably buy the DLC here soon and probably stream it and then go from there. But I played a lot of Scarlet and Shield just for shiny hunting alone.
Yeah, and I got I did get another platinum trophy I'll talk about as well. But yeah, I just figured that would be a good segue because they're kind of the same thing. Like if
They're
somebody
arbitrary.
says, you know, why do you bother with the platinum trophy? Right? There's no real reward for it. It's like, yeah, there is no real reward for it. It's just because I want to.
It makes me happy.
And yeah, and so it's literally the same thing of like it is a profound waste of time, but it's fun.
It's an
And
experience.
both things have like potentially a lot of redundant grinding to
Which is incredible because I hate grinding.
yeah. So I guess I'll talk about this game. So a lot of games I played just as part of videos. So when working on the Bossora video, I did not originally own this game when I did the first Muso
Is that Yuki
video.
Mori?
It sure is, yeah.
Oh.
But I stumbled upon a copy of the original Samurai Warriors and decided to pick it up for comparison when doing the Bossora video because I thought it would be pretty disingenuous to talk about Bossora and not talk about Samurai Warriors. And I've had like some angry outrage merchants in the comments of the Muso video talk about how they don't respect Bossora because it's a blatant ripoff of Samurai Warriors. And I'm like, you realize that both games were in development at the same time, and that it is okay for two games to exist in the same genre and not be ripoffs of each other. Because boy howdy would that sure make games like Half-Life problematic. It's like you can't thank Half-Life for all of the important things that it did for the FPS genre if you think it's a Doom clone and that they should be ashamed for themselves for ripping off Doom, right?
I think they're both great in their own respective games. Like they're both unique enough to be their own things.
I am very much looking forward to playing the later Samurai Warriors games because I have Samurai Warriors 4-2 on the PS4, which is the modern Samurai. I think it's actually the newest Samurai Warriors game, unless they made a fifth one. And I'm going to play that for a modern analog, and a lot of people swear by that game and they say it's very good. But just and I do have respect for that series, but out of strictly comparing this game to Sengoku Basara 1, Sengoku Basara 1 is a much more fun game. This game has a little bit more of a focus on realism, but like all of the Muso games, even the Koei ones, have this degree of over-the-top ridiculousness to them. So it's like you're already sacrificing on historical accuracy. So why not just go all the way with it? And I think it's why my perspective is kind of spoiled on Basara is like Basara is so unapologetic about how over the top it is. Like it's almost like deliberately defiant with how over the top it is, and whereas this is kind of just in the middle of being like clearly more ridiculous than something trying to be historically accurate would be, but nowhere near in the level of ridiculousness that Basara would be. And gameplay wise, it just doesn't play nearly as well as Boss Hero 1 did. Like, Boss Hero 1 was way ahead of its time when you compare it to all of the Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors games made before Boss Hero 1. It's better than all of those. I'm really excited to play Samurai Warriors 4 2. That's literally what it's called. I don't know why. I own it, and I'm looking forward to more of the modern Koei Tecmo Musou games being better. So that one, Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate and Warriors All-Stars, to be like a better idea of what Koei can do with their own genre in the optimal circumstances. But I had to play that as part of the Boss video, and it's okay. I guess I'll go through a couple more.
I have 4. One's not in the stack because it's the virtual.
Okay, so I'll go through one more, and then you can...
Yeah.
So obviously I had to play the Revenge of the Fallen game to do the video on that. This is a great game. It's way better than the movie it's associated with, as I said in the main channel video for this. That video also did very well. People were really receptive to that video because I think people were just excited to see me talk about the more obscure Transformers games compared to like the War for Cybertron games, which everybody knows those games are good. But people don't talk about these very much because they assume that they are movie tie-in shovelware at a time in which movie tie-in games had a terrible reputation. They had like a decades-long reputation of being bad. Mm-hmm. This one kind of came out of nowhere and was a pretty okay. It was pretty good. So a lot of people were very receptive to that video. And I'm like, obviously I've got one more movie adaptation game to make a video on, and I'm in the process of writing that right now. And I really want to, put a lot of effort into that because the people who seem to be fans of those movie tie-in games are, they deserve it to not be, hand-waved away as something not great. Like they deserve to be taken seriously as fans of those games. So there's also a lot of Transformers fans that swear by all the DS games. And so I'll talk about this again in that video whenever that comes out, but I have downloaded a DS emulator and I'm gonna try some of the DS games. And it's like, I would normally just buy because they're all really cheap, I would normally just buy the physical copies and play them on the DS, but there's no real way for me to get footage of them. So if I ever wanted to include footage of the DS Transformers games in a video, I'd have to record them off an emulator. So it is what it is.
I remembered a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I guess I can talk about both of them really because they're both from... So the Switch Online lets you play games. Different games that... we own like the NES Classic and all of those things. But the first game would probably be... I did beat both of the storylines of Dr. Mario.
Mm-hmm.
I played a lot of Dr. Mario. It's really hard. I was playing it like the hard difficulty trying to unlock something. A costume or something like that. I have no idea. I don't remember if I even got it. But there was one of my favorite moments of this year was like me hyper focusing on it. And it was 4 a.m. I was still playing at 4 a.m. And he rolled over and looked at me and he goes, "Are you going to go to sleep?" And I can't remember the exact words, but I was like, "What's it to ya?"
Yeah, because if
it
I
was
roll
the
over,
equivalent of me being like, "What? Mind your business."
Yeah, because if I roll over at 3 or 4 a.m. and you're still awake, I'm assuming something is badly wrong with you, like you're sick, kind of.
Yeah.
And so for you to just be like, I literally just lost track of time. I was just like, whatever.
I
and
could
like,
not stop.
And that's not the first time that's happened with Dr. Mario, too.
No, I really can't play. I cannot play this game. But I also did a little bit of the co-op stuff because you can play with the Switch Online. You can play with friends. So I remember playing with Devin and Rip a couple of times, and it But in the same sense, I also played the WarioWare game for the Game Boy Advance. So I had played some of that as a kid on an emulator because my dad just thought emulating was great when we could have just owned it. But I never beat it as a kid. I don't know why. So I went through and I played it, and I just honestly remembered why I liked it so much and why I actually really like the WarioWare games. Like, they're just kind of fun, and they do have a good level of challenge to them, especially towards the end of it. So, though I did beat the story mode of that, and I very much so enjoyed it. I probably did it in one sitting too, maybe in like 2 days, kind of beat it. But I remember it just being like completely nostalgic playing it because I didn't beat it as a kid, and I just kind of enjoyed playing it on a different emulator that I actually paid money to properly have access to. Whereas I, as a kid, had it for no damn reason. We were emulating it. Like, there's just an example of my dad just being a thief for no fucking reason. But it was just fun. It was really fun. And I kind of want to play more of the other WarioWare games, which I know you bought one today, like this year. So.
Well, I bought Wario Land Shake It.
Yeah.
Because the WarioWare games I don't really play, but I buy the platform ones.
Yeah, you buy the platform ones. But I do like those. Those are fun. There was one that came out this year. I guess we need to pick up if I want to play more of them. Wah.
All right, so one of the things we did, we started this in like the fall of last year, and we carried it all the way through this year. We're still doing it. We'll do it for as long as we possibly can. It's just having like a regular game night day with our best friends, and introducing each other to some of our favorite games that the other people in the group may not have played before. So we're kind of, trading a game here and there, and we've developed this huge, massive list of games we're going through. And the one that I convinced our friends to indulge in us with and go down the rabbit hole with was what is probably tied for my favorite game of all time, of course, is Final Fantasy X, which we started this, like I said, in like the fall of last year and finished it, I think, in the summer of this year, something like that.
I think it was a little bit before the summer.
Yeah, it was. We got through it reasonably pretty quickly.
I think it was before MomoCon.
So, obviously, I've played this game a bunch. It's literally my favorite game of all time. Did not own this PS4 version until we did this run. I played it on the PS2 and on the PS3 and on the Vita. And then your run of which we did in 2021, I believe,
was on the Switch.
And so we got to talk about. I think we got to talk about this game literally like last year or the year before, because we had just done a run on your Switch version, and then we decided let's go through it all over again and take them through it on the PS4 version. And
which was great for me because I got to see all the little hits and.
You get to relive the story. It seemed like they had a pretty good time with it. It's hard to say. Not all of our friends are super vocal about how they feel moment to moment about certain things. They kind of keep it to themselves sometimes, which I will not fault them for that. But I can only assume that they enjoy it unless they explicitly tell me they're not. So.
That's a good way to think about it. I'm like, if you don't like it, they'll let you know.
The friend who was playing it, who actually had her hands on the controller, shares an account on the site that I use to keep track of my backlog of games, and she gave it a 5-star rating when we finished, so that's a good sign. But our other friend who was not actively playing it was still picking up on storyline things that I thought was pretty good. They were like paying attention enough to pick up on little story things that I thought was like, okay, that's really cool that they're thinking about it on that level. And between the run that we did together and this run, it really kind of recharacterized some of my perspective on the story, just going through it again with an older brain. and certain scenes being missable that I maybe didn't see in my previous runs, certain different strategies that we didn't know about. Like, I'm trying to think of what we did that was so. I think we used like a level 1 key sphere to send Riku through Yuna's sphere grid to get Reflect early before the first Seymour fight, which was like really unique and weird.
That, yeah.
And it was like, that was so, and it didn't even really matter that much because the first Seymour fight is pretty trivial even without it. But like the fact that you can do that, I think is just so cool. And our friend that had the control, she was very thorough with exploring the relatively linear environment, but wherever there was hidden treasure, she'd always go out of her way to get it, which paid off quite a bit because she got enough of the Albed primers. We were able to translate a cipher at the Albed home, which is a place you can only go to one time in the game because it's destroyed as part of the story. And so there were some items that we got as a reward for deciphering that, and they were like insanely good items, like spheres that for the sphere grid that would otherwise be very, very difficult to get. I don't remember exactly which ones it gave us, but it gave us the ability to get an ability for a character that would otherwise not have that ability, and it allowed us to like cheese a later boss in the game or something like that. Like it mattered a lot. It was like your persistence in like finding hidden stuff in the environment to be thorough and collect all the treasure mattered so much when it came to like that specific strategy and that specific exploit. But I just appreciate the commitment from our friends to be able to go through, you know, my favorite game with them, and it's a very like, it's kind of a very intimate experience because it's like you are being unapologetically passionate about something you care about a lot, and you're opening it up to criticism and acknowledging that maybe everybody may not like it as much as you do, and you're sort of trusting your friends with that. You know, you're trusting your friends with that level of like opening yourself up to something that's deeply personal to you, and I was rewarded for trusting them that much, and it being a really intimate experience like that.
Yeah, it was fun for me because it was my second playthrough, basically. My second run, so stuff that was said before story stuff was revealed was like, I know I laughed at so many of Oren's lines because I'm like, wow, he really wasn't trying to hide anything. Mm-hmm. Tidus is just an idiot. And because it's in Tidus's perspective.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know anything. Our Tidus was so warmly named Himbo, as well as like all of the Aeons were named. There was Peanut. Yeah. There was Grape.
Yeah, Bahamut was named Grape, which is
Bahamut
great.
was named Grape. We love Grape. Peanut was.
All of the other ones were. Was Anima? Was that okay? Yeah, all of the other ones were named after pastas, weren't they?
I think so. There was Shibata, but Shibata spelled wrong.
Uh-huh.
So it was fun, just fun going through it a second time and watching them enjoy it, and just it has to be up there on one of my favorite games too. I'm very like general like top 10, which might have more than 10, who knows, but like it's definitely up there in a game that I enjoyed, makes me think, makes me have feelings for like 5 ever. I still have feelings. Oren's hot. No bias. But man, it was just so good to listen to some of the lines and just see their reactions to certain characters. Like their reactions to Seymour was pretty great. So
yeah. Being immediately distrusting of him from the start was pretty on point.
Yeah.
The only thing I think was genuinely a negative, which is something I've gotten used to, but is the way the menus work. So in most Final Fantasy games, like especially 1 through 6, where all of the battles are, you know, characters on one side and enemies on the other always, whether you are hitting up and down or left and right on your D-pad to select a target is always going to go the same direction. But in 10, because of the battles having a dynamic perspective, you may think, oh, I need to hit the direction on the D-pad that correlates with where the enemy is on the screen, but it doesn't actually work that way. And so you're like, oh, I'm targeting my own guy, trying to find the enemy to menu over, but it's like, it takes some getting used to, and it really shouldn't. It should be more intuitive than that for like how many times they've done the remaster now. But and then the menus in the remaster are frame locked, so you can only menu at a certain speed in the HD collection, which everybody that I've heard that's played the HD collection like recently has commented like, why does the menu feel so weird and slow? And I'm like, you wouldn't think about that, but like that matters because like, and especially going to like when we did that run of 10 and then I started at 7 and we played all the way through 7, and the fact that 7 has like fast menus, it was like a night and day difference. It's like, and just being able to go to like wherever you want in the menu like really fast. And I was like, it feels so much better. So you wouldn't think something like that would matter, but it totally matters.
It does.
You got another one before I continue?
Like game-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually, this is the last of the finished, and then we'll slide into my start, but it takes time for me to finish. So the last game I finished this year was Fire Emblem Engage. So, I did not enter this game taking it seriously. I mean, it's gimmicky. Like, you're wearing the lords of previous games on your finger, and there's transformations. It's kind of goofy in concept, but when I finished the game, the story that it tells can't be done in a different way without going into spoilers because he hasn't played it yet. I really liked this game. I actually highly recommend it. I know a lot of our friends in this fandom bounced really hard off of it when they saw the premise. But I really like all the original characters that are in this game. I find a lot of them endearing. I really want to play another playthrough of it because they have so many characters that you're limited to which ones you can use. So some of them dropped off, so I didn't really get to know some of the characters as well as I would like to because they just weren't in my run. Because once you get behind, it's kind of like a grind fest to get them caught up, and I was like, no, I just want to finish the story. Like, this is my balls to the wall, let me get my story intake. I did like a text thing where it broke down my feelings about it, but overall, very positive. I think if I had to break down, the story is cheesy. It's cheesy. And I love cheese. I love cheese. It was, there was some stuff that's obviously predictable as to be expected for something written like this. The gameplay, though, is really good. It is really fun. The maps were good. I really liked the actual engaging part had a whole relevance to it because depending on the units that you put, they learned skills and whatnot and just figuring out who goes with what because you don't actually keep a lot of them with the original ones that they had. But design-wise, I think some of the characters' outfits are goofy. I think they're overly designed for the sake of being overly designed. And it's kind of jarring for a series that's based off of, like, lords and knights and kings and queens to have some of the designed outfits that these guys have, especially in their, like, somnial outfits, are very modern looking. I don't dislike the outfits, but they're just like, it feels out of place. the ending of the game was cheesy, but it kind of talks a lot about bonds and the people that you meet along the way and just the connections and whatnot between the cast. And I guess I related a lot to that because Fire Emblem is why I have a lot of friends I had. So I got like really up in my feels at 1 a.m. like crying after I beat the game while the credits were playing. You were asleep. So just thinking about how this is like a love letter to Fire Emblem fans. So, like, play this game if you're a Fire Emblem fan, because it really is. It gave me Awakening feels. It's like a little love letter. The characters that they have from the previous games, they treat them with so much love and respect. They're not treated they're treated equally as respectful as all the characters that were added to this game. That are new for the franchise. Like, they're just treated with love and respect. And it's just like a little love letter. And I still don't know the weapons triangle.
So, my experience of this game so far has just been a little bit of secondhand for most people. But, our like formative memory of this game was you picking it up on around release, like maybe not exactly on launch day, but like around release.
My mom got it for me in February.
Yeah, so we were just laying in bed and you were playing the beginning of it on the TV, and you're in the first stage and they give you the brief menu of what the weapon triangle is, and you're like, I ain't gonna remember that, and I look over at you and I'm like, you did all of the like baby eugenics shit in Awakening with the spreadsheet to have like the optimal stats for all the baby characters, and you're telling me you don't remember the fucking weapon triangle? And I just died laughing. It was so funny.
No one will ever know the pitch of your voice that got when you had that. You looked at me was like, what the fuck do you mean you don't remember the weapons triangle?
Yeah.
It's literally in every game, and it's just, I'm dumb and I flip it. It's literally, I'm dyslexic and I just flip it. I just flip it. I can't remember the order because it's just, there's 3 of them and they get jumbled up in my little brain and it's hard for me to remember it. I struggle with freaking remembering types in Pokemon. I've been playing that for 20 years.
So, in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels of the Roses for the PS2, there is a weapon triangle in the sense that like the attributes all have like a way to stagger if they're fighting something of the same attribute or something of the corresponding attribute, and that's like an 8-way weapon triangle, and I know how the fuck that works. But so the thing about this game, again, having not played it and listening to all the back and forth like fandom discourse about this game, is that some people are hating on it, some people are really loving it, but I think what we can all, as Fire Emblem fans, take comfort in is the idea that if you liked the way they did a certain game, congratulations, they're never going to do it that way ever again. And you can count on, if you didn't like something, that it's never, the next game they're going to make is going to be absolutely nothing like it. And I think that is something that that's a really, really fair middle ground we can take a lot of comfort in when it comes to Fates being nothing like Awakening, or Three Houses being nothing like, or Echoes being nothing like Fates, and Three Houses being nothing like Echoes, and Engage being nothing like Three Houses. It's just going to keep, as long as they're going to keep making this series, it's going to keep being that. And as long as there is a core foundation of the series that has been consistently the same, all of the outside aesthetics are mutable, and that's kind of cool, because it's like they're really not afraid to step outside the box and be like, this series can adapt a wildly different aesthetic or setting or just general vibe to it, and I think that's really ambitious.
Yeah, I mean, I really had the same happiness that I felt when I first played through Awakening when I played this game. And I guess I'll shout out like some of my favorite characters, because Diamant is definitely like the husband of this game for me, but like I loved Ivy, I loved Lapis. I mean, I really just just bang on characters in this game, and they're nicely fleshed out. I actually really like Alear as well. If I had a nickel for every time a pro tag had amnesia, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's happened twice.
I mean, it just within Fire Emblem, not even including how much that's a trope in like so many other.
But like the pro tag waking
Yeah.
up, and it's like, I don't remember shit. That's happened at least twice at the beginning of the game, and then people kind of have to. But I really actually I played as female Alear, and I love her. I like this game a lot. I really do recommend it a lot. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I look forward to playing it again. And
It gives me really high hopes for the future of the series. There still may not be a world in which I like this game. I will play it, but I may still be like, there might be a chance where I say it's not for me, but it still gives me high hopes for the future of the series.
yeah,
for
I think
sure.
my only complaints is that there is a lot of like redundant shit that I never touched, because your in between stages on the Somnial just had a lot of filler, busy work kind of stuff. There was a lot of it that I just did not touch. Like we were talking about how we were worried about the gacha game element of it. I didn't even touch it. Where you like give some of the in-game coin to like get cards of like other characters.
I had completely forgotten that was a thing.
It's not like I think I messed with it once. And the ring polishing thing, didn't even touch that either. Because it's stupid and it does nothing.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that was a thing, but
But like, there's just a couple things. It's like, I don't understand the point of this. And if there's and if someone does comment this, let me know. But if there is a point of throwing weapons in the well that doesn't give you food items, like I don't need a Dongo sword, let me know, because I didn't figure that out. After I threw a couple of really nice weapons in there and got like, it literally is like a piece of Dongo as a sword that they fight with and can eat for health.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't want that shit.
Yeah.
So if there's another way of doing that, let me know, because I stopped it very quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So my next one, of course, hopefully y'all have seen the video, played War for Cybertron for the video. Very happy with that video, put a lot of work into that video. I realized again the other day when looking back at my uploads, getting ready to post the Boss for 2 video, that video is over an hour long. And like I literally have a like G1 style commercial break in the middle to like be like, if you need to pause here and go do something else and come back to it, because that video is long. Obviously this is still an ongoing debate with fans, but this is tied for between maybe 2 other games as the best Transformers game. And when I eventually get around to talking about its sequel, to talk about Fall of Cybertron, I will discuss how in certain ways that game is better and in certain ways it's worse. Like, it's not a strict improvement over this game. There are just elements that they dialed back on from this game going to that one where it's not... it doesn't replace this one in my eyes. So, this was very fun to go back and revisit, not just because it's a good game, but because Transformers was always like a comfort franchise to me when things in life had just gotten too complex. And that period of time, like that 2010 7th gen console era, was very much a time right before life got, like adulthood became challenging kind of thing. And so it definitely is nostalgic for a era of comfort and simplicity in my life, and that's what I like about it. Well, one of the things I like about it for sure. Keep going. Have another game night game that you can talk about.
Yeah, go. And then I'll talk about mine, and then we will be even on games.
So the next game night game we did after Final Fantasy X, because Final Fantasy X is a long JRPG, we wanted to play a shorter game in between. So we kind of decided this game on a coin flip between it and another shorter game, a co-op game called It Takes Two, or was it A Way Out? It was A Way Out.
It was a way out.
That the girls wanted to play, and so this was decided on a coin flip, and of course it is Dishonored, which is one of my favorite games. This is not the version of it we played. This is a PS3 copy. We played the PS4 Definitive Edition version, but I just randomly pulled this out of my collection as a way to show which game it was. And for those of you that remember, I found myself doing another run of Dishonored last year. So I similar to Final Fantasy X, it's like I just played this game recently, but played this last year, like my 7th or 8th playthrough, and then did another playthrough this year for our game night. So it was pretty fresh in my mind, and we ended up with a good ending.
Somehow.
Yeah, we somehow ended up with a good ending, even though we did a lot of rampant murder in the first couple of missions. And I deferred to you and the girls what we would do about, because being that this is an immersive sim, and anybody that's familiar with this game knows that the thing about a game like this is you haven't, and this sounds incredibly pretentious to say, but if you've played it, you know that it's true. It's like you haven't really experienced a game like this until you've played it about 4 times. And it's the same with System Shock and BioShock and Thief and Prey, etc., Deus Ex. And it takes about 4 playthroughs to really feel like you get it. And so it's tough to pick where you're going to go, because unless someone in the group wanted to replay it for themselves in their own time, then this is going to be their entire experience with the game. And so how do you settle on one play style and commit to it? And so I was like, well, these are all of our options. What do you guys want to do, and how are we going to compromise as a group? And so we compromised on, we would generally try to avoid killing NPCs, but we would kill the main targets, I believe.
There
right?
were some of them that we did the peaceful option for.
Yeah, because the peaceful option ended up being really advantageous, or straight up easier in some cases. But there was a really great video essay on Dishonored that I watched this year. I don't remember the name of the guy that made it, but I'll try to find it. And it talked about how, choice trumps balance in a game like this, because there are choices that make the game significantly more easy than going the other direction. And so the incentives for wanting to do one choice over another have to be like extrinsic. Like you have to want to make those choices just because you want to, not because there's not because it creates a more optimal play experience. And so I cataloged pretty much all of the unique and quirky things that happened in specifically our run, on a text review that you guys can read on the Blogspot account. And so I won't go into too much detail here, but it was a really good run. Everybody seemed to enjoy it. Me knowing what certain storyline things are going to happen, I can kind of play up some of the first-person camera work to kind of look at things in like a way that's like inherently kind of cinematic, because I know what to expect. And so I kind of present that in a way that's kind of cinematic for the people watching. And then reading the books as well, like reading the books in the environment in the voices of the characters was really fun for me. I had a really good time with that.
I enjoyed it.
But what were your thoughts on the game being it was your first time experiencing it?
I really liked it. I think we did pretty good at like all being like on the same page with a lot of things. There wasn't a lot of discussion on whether we should or should not, other than I think there was a couple times where I'm like, kill them, and we just didn't. The group decided not to. But like, some of my highlights was probably the Boyle's house party, where we decided that we're killing this guy. He's gross. And then
Yeah, you're right. So, yeah. No.
or we killed her. Mm-hmm. And then we just, the way you threw her body onto the boat and how it just made the noise that it made. Mm-hmm. And then we just looked at him and said, nah, bye, Felicia, and just killed him. We were like, get rid of him. This is, ugh. And he was already upset because we killed her. We could have just let him live. But we were like, nah, fuck it. He needs to die too. The plot twist was really good. Mm-hmm. It really, really got all of us like, oh, like all of us were like, like I think a game does a very good job when it makes you feel emotions. Mm-hmm. I'll always say that if it stirs any kind of emotion in you, then the game succeeded at what it was doing.
Yeah.
So the fact that we were all furious, and then of course we're like, all right, that's it for tonight. And we're like, and we had to wait another week before we got to finish. So we all had to sit on being pissed for a whole week before we got the end of the game. Was really great.
Because what happened was, if I recall correctly, the Boyle Manor was we started that pretty early in the evening, mm-hmm. and that can be a really time-consuming mission depending on how you do it. And we wanted to do a lot of exploring, so we were like exploring upstairs and trying to figure out which Boyle was the right Boyle, and all that stuff, and really just indulging in that level quite a bit. And we did. We used the non-lethal option as a way to lure her away from the guests, and then just killed her anyway, and killed the guy who gave us the non-lethal
because
objective.
We were creeped out by him, and we're like, really, this is the best end result for her.
And I failed to appreciate just how much that is like a worse fate than death for her when I was younger, and now like replaying it like as an adult and everything, and playing that route and being like, now I appreciate it. It's like that really is not a better fate than death. Like,
yeah, like she's being sent off with a fucking creep
as a prisoner, basically. Like,
yeah, he's like, I'll make her love me. Don't worry. And we're all of us were like, ooh, like collective, like I don't like that. So,
especially because again, it's like you guys are all girls, and the implications are super creepy.
And he also had like the grossest mask.
Yeah,
his mask was disgusting.
Uh-huh.
But then but we also just like waltzed into the Lord Regent's room and like.
Yeah, so
it was. We did the lethal part, which we thought was going to be difficult. And we just waltzed our little happy asses into his house, into his bedroom, and was like...
Yeah. So what happened there is because I am not used to entering the... so if you go through the courtyard at Dunwall Tower undetected, then you can get into... On low chaos, if you go through the courtyard undetected on low chaos, the Lord Regent will just be in his room. But if you're committing to a low chaos run or a run in which you don't kill him, you still need to explore the rest of the level because you need to go up to the very, very tippy top of the tower where the broadcast station is and broadcast his confession to the city, which is what gets him incriminated. But in our run, because we were on low chaos and we got through the courtyard undetected, he's just in his room. And so if you just wanted to kill him anyway, he's right there. And so I was like, okay, here we go. Dropped on him just like that, and that was the end of it. And so the Dunwall Tower level was like 5 minutes.
It was so fast.
And so we were like, well, I guess we're going to keep going for a little bit. So I let you guys see the betrayal scene and see the opening cutscene of the Flooded District where we get picked up by Dowd and his assassins. And then we start off in the little holding cell without our equipment and everything, and that's where we're, and it was like, to your point, such a suspenseful moment to cut that off with. We were all pissed for a whole week. Yeah, but I'm really glad that y'all enjoyed that game. It was probably like 4 or 5 sessions of that before we completely finished it. It was pretty short.
Yeah.
And I really would love for you or the other friends to play it again on your own time and really kind of get a feel for the mechanics yourself.
I also probably made you like shit bricks right at the beginning too, because I was like, "Oh, they banging," and you were probably
Yeah.
like,
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, because
I was like, I immediately was like, "Oh yeah, they're married, they're in love," and
Yeah.
I have no like.
because the very opening dialogue of the game is Jessamine saying, as an opening narration, her letter to Corvo of like, "Oh, I wish you were here. I've missed you so much," and like everything, and I wish there was somebody else we could send to find the cure for the plague, and it's a very like emotionally charged language, and so your like ship detector is going off, and you're just like, ship detected, they're
Well,
banging,
and it wasn't even just that. It was the fact that when he gets off the boat and he sees Emily, she's like, "Uppies," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Who does that?"
Yeah. And so
you're my dad.
So, but that fact is like not explicitly told.
It is-
It's kept pretty ambiguous through most of the game, where it's like they're not going to outright deny it, but they're not going to explicitly say it either, unless you get specific dialogue from other characters towards the end of the game. Like on High Chaos, if you you'll stumble upon Pendleton and Martin infighting, and Pendleton will have taken a stray bullet, and you find him bleeding out in the corner, and he's like, "Everyone knows you was screwing the Empress." And then if you read Havelock's journal on either Low Chaos or High Chaos, he more or less confirms it, and so you could argue that it's intended for you to find out at the very, very end of the game, but even then you can still miss that. And it always bothered me that in Dishonored 2, right from the get-go with the marketing, like the marketing of the game before the game even came out, there's like the Game Informer article, literally the headline of the article is like father, like daughter, and I'm like, oh, come on. You're like ruining this ambiguity of the first game for people that haven't played it. But like,
I picked on it immediately.
What was so cool about that run, though, was not only the fact that our friends didn't catch on to that until the end, but the fact that they did not know anything about Dishonored 2. And so I got to show them the banger trailer for Dishonored 2 where you play as older Emily, and they were like, no way. They were like, holy shit, I can't wait for this. And but unfortunately, Dishonored 2 I have played significantly less of, and so I don't have as like masterful of an understanding of that game as I do of the first one. And I just don't feel like I'm quite ready to do it would be a lot of just like, hey, we'll figure this out as we go if we decided to do a game night of Dishonored 2 right now, until I give it a few more playthroughs, but we will do it at some point.
I want to play it.
Unless you want to do the DLC of Dishonored 1 where you play as Dowd first. But
I like him.
yeah, that was another thing too. It's like with the kind of like cultural context of like, I don't know, man. You go through what we went through in 2020, and suddenly knifing rich aristocrats in the back doesn't feel so bad. And so Dowd is almost like a sympathetic character in that cultural context.
Hey, he's paid to do what he did. It was actually more satisfying to let him live than kill him, because I went and watched all like the differences like shortly afterwards, and I'm like, how do we miss the note that's where she drew like Corvo, like Emily drew Corvo, and it just writes "Daddy" across it, because you panned over it in like a split second.
I like panicked and looked away from it. I was like, oh.
And we didn't even register it until
yeah.
I was watching a video of all of like the differences of her drawings. I'm like, when the
Yeah.
You're like, I was like, what the hell? You're like organizing cards. I'm sitting on the bed. I'm like, when the hell did this happen? You're like, oh, I panned over it so fast.
Yeah, I was trying to get that off screen. I like saw it. I was like, whoa, I didn't see that. And like, because I mean, that might have been the moment that clued y'all in, but I felt like the
I already knew.
The moment of like reading Havelock's journal was a little bit more cinematic. But
yeah, I mean, I kind of like cornered you after we were all playing, and I'm like, is she? And you're like, yeah, like you couldn't even like, you could not. I was like hot and heavy on that for whatever freaking reason. But I mean, I also picked up like on 10 being like, what the hell's going on with Thoron?
Yeah.
Is he dead? And
I'm
you were like,
don't worry about it.
And they didn't catch that either. But I was just certain things that I'm like,
yeah,
that's sus as hell.
So with Dishonored, because of that playthrough, I just like I don't know what came over me, but
Oh.
I looked back at all of the trophies for that game and I said, fuck it, I'm going for the Platinum Trophy. I'm doing this right now. And I have never... So, I originally played it on the Xbox 360 version. Got a good chunk of the achievements there, including the one for getting going through the game, getting 0 kills and 0 upgrades, going in with just blink one, no powers, and no kills. Gotten that one before, but I didn't know how possible it would be to do a ghost run where you're like never even detected at all. I always thought that was like very, very difficult, like near impossible. But I was like, how hard can it be? And I figured it would be easier. So I played the original on the Xbox 360, played the DLC on the PS3 version because the Game of the Year edition came out that had the DLC pre-included. Played that on the PS3, and then played I have the definitive edition on both the Xbox One and the PS4. I have every system that's on except for PC. And which always blasphemy to some people because it's a game that's really made for PC. But so it was this PS4 definitive edition that we got, where I was like,
Yep.
yeah, I'm gonna go for the Platinum Trophy, and it actually did kind of take like 1.5 playthroughs because there were certain things where I had to like reload a mission earlier in the game with a different chaos level to get a certain outcome.
Because you can't do the granny stuff in a single playthrough. You'd have
Correct.
to have like 2.
Yeah, all the stuff with Granny Rags and Slackjaw, you have to kind of do that as 2 playthroughs because you have to set it up earlier in the game or it won't happen. Because that was we kind of missed the. Did we got the Granny Rags scene in our run, or did I have to show you that later?
We did. We did the part where we saved Slackjaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was one, my non-lethal ghost run, because I couldn't get detected, I couldn't fight the thugs that appear outside of Granny Rags' house in the first Granny Rags quest, meaning I didn't unlock any of her other side quests, and I couldn't get the scene with her and Slackjaw in the second to last level. So doing a non-lethal ghost, no powers run, I just didn't have access to that trophy, so it was like 1.5 playthroughs to be able to get the Platinum Trophy. And I just binged it until I got it, and I finally got it. And that was a huge feeling of accomplishment, considering it's a game I've played nearly 10 times, have a really sentimental attachment to it, and it's one of my favorite games, but even though it may be like tied with BioShock and Deus Ex, but it's still a game that I love quite a bit, and I've gotten 100% on those other 2 immersive sims, so it only made sense to go forward with this one too.
It was a good time. I liked it a lot. My turn?
Yeah.
Alright, so we're on the list of games I started and haven't finished because they require me to take breaks on. Tears of the Kingdom came out this year. Everybody loved it. And I actually find myself... Breath of the Wild, I did not finish. I'm not going to finish it. I don't plan on finishing it. So when Tears of the Kingdom came out, what was announced, and when it found out it was just going to be a Breath of the Wild 2, I was really turned off on it because I enjoy Breath of the Wild as a story, but hate it as far as gameplay. I'm not because I'm like a hater on open world, because they're not my favorite, but I can see what the appeal is, especially in like the Zelda sense. But for whatever reason, I think because Tears of the Kingdom adds so much that it doesn't necessarily bother me as much. I like certain things that this added versus what Breath of the Wild lacked. I know a lot of people had complaints saying that it's just basically DLC, but it really is its own game. And it deserves to be a separate game and not called DLC. I'm in the process of getting like the 5th temple. So they added temples. Whereas Breath of the Wild, you felt very alone. Tears of the Kingdom, you don't. Because it's basically the rebuild of Hyrule after the conclusion of Breath of the Wild. So where Breath of the Wild is just openly ruined world because of the calamity. and everyone that you cared about is not with you, this game is like built upon that. So you run into people that are from the games that are happy to see you. You see the changes of the world because it's better. It's growing. It's a Hyrule that isn't in despair. Now, mind you, it is because of the main plot point, but it's because it's the revitalization of Hyrule, basically. It kind of brings in like the building mechanics, because there's stuff everywhere where you can build with, because Zelda's encouraging building throughout the entire kingdom because it was in ruins. I also like the fuse mechanics. I think that was the best thing they did, because I found myself running out of weapons a lot. But I also really like the sky stuff. I like all of the hints and love towards Skyward Sword regarding this, because it definitely, whereas Breath of the Wild kind of hinted a lot on Ocarina of Time, this one hints a lot on Skyward Sword, and both of those are pretty close, near and dear to my heart. So I'm still working on it. I like that they added temples. It was literally yesterday where we were talking about Zelda 1 and 2, about how my mom laughed and was like, well, you died a lot in those games. And it just was like, you know what? I'm fine with dying a lot in this game, because that's just going back to its roots, I guess.
Yeah, that ain't as hard as Zelda 1 and 2. That's
No,
for sure.
it is difficult. But I think the really special part about Tears of the Kingdom for me is that my brother picked it up. And there has not really been a game that me and him play, because what we like is vastly different. Whereas he typically plays the car games and whatnot, and I play Pokemon. So this is the first game, other than Animal Crossing, that me and him are playing together at the same time and are talking about it and having such a fun connection with it. And really, this game is kind of built for my brother, because he loves Legos, and the building mechanic of this game really, really does him justice. Like, it really, where I struggle with it, it is his, like, he's like, I love this part. This part is so much fun. And he's like super excited to show me all he's done. And it's actually encouraging me to actually continue and play it. So if it wasn't for John, I probably would not. I might have ADHD dropped this, because it's a lot. I have to take breaks on it, and but the fact is that it is going to be a game that I love very much so, just because I have that bond with my brother playing it. We're driving my mom crazy every time we see each other, and just going, hey, look at all this. Look at what I've been up to. The only thing is that he does violence on Koroks, and I do not condone violence on Koroks. We do not send them to space in my gameplay. We do not. Not purposely. If it happens accidentally, it happens accidentally. But yeah, so I'm very much so enjoying it. The only other thing that I have to say is that it is my favorite Master Sword reveal, like the whole presentation and all of that. So good. I loved it. And we got to watch it on my brother's playthrough, like with my mom and his wife. We were all watching it. My mom was like, that was incredible. And I'm like, I know. So like, I really like what this game is doing for like me and my brother. It's just been such a good time with that, as far as that goes. I will finish it. I won't finish Breath of the Wild though.
Yeah. I don't think there's a more perfect marriage than Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom and the Switch itself. Like,
yes.
Especially Breath of the Wild coming out as a launch title for the Switch was one of those things where not only are they part of the most highly regarded game franchise of all time, but they are the ultimate kind of just fuck around kind of games, where it's just infinitely. You can play it casually, like infinitely, because it's open world. You can just kind of mess around forever. So it satisfies literally every different demographic out there. People that literally play like one game a year on their Switch. Like those people are happy. Hardcore Zelda fans are happy. Just like, and everybody in between is happy with those games. And just like, even though it uses the same tech and the same engine as Breath of the Wild, the amount of new mechanics they added into Tears of the Kingdom, like all of the combining items together and all that, and all the physics and everything is just like the cultural footprint that this game has left, and all of the messing around that people are doing with it is really something, and it is something that people will remember 2023 for sure.
Yeah, that being said, I really hope the next Zelda game is not open world.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a hater of these, I like the formula the way it was, and call me basic, but like, I grew up with that. There was nothing wrong with that formula. There's nothing wrong with this formula, but I'm more apt to not finish a game like this because it's just, I can't, it's so much.
Yeah. Maybe the next game we can get is like an Oracle's remake that's like not in the style of the Link's Awakening remake and is
good.
Yeah.
I mean, now I can actually play those because they're on the Switch Online. So like the Switch Online is probably going to let me play Minish Cap or then the Oracle games again. So like, or not again, just I haven't really played those. So I'll probably end up putting my fingers in that eventually.
Yeah. So I have 2 games that are digital downloads I want to talk about really quick that I finished.
Oh yeah.
So one of which is an indie game that I have known about for like a decade but never personally played. And I actually had it on Steam, but I'm just not able to access my Steam library on my Mac for whatever reason. So I downloaded it also on PSN, and I have it on the Vita and the PS4 simultaneously. And it is VVV, 6 Vs.
It was so fun.
It's a little indie platformer that is very nostalgic for the 8-bit era. Specifically, it's got 8-bit music and very simple graphics. But it has a very charming sense of humor to it, and it has literally the whole game is controlled by like left to right D-pad and one button. All you would need to play this is a left and right D-pad and one button, because all you do is walk left to right and hit one button that inverts your character from the floor to the ceiling.
It's jump,
and it's not even really jump because you don't jump up. You flip to the ceiling,
yeah.
And that's all you do. But the depth of the gameplay with just that one simple mechanic is really staggering, because you attach to moving platforms and you dodge spikes and you hit little jumping bars that like flip you back down the other direction, and there's a lot of that stuff, and just it has such incredibly good music.
The music is so good.
It's a very short game, but I played it from beginning to end on the Vita, which you can do in maybe 2 hours. It's pretty short. Tried to have y'all play it as like a quick 1 or 2 session game night game, but the person we handed the controller to got stuck, and I have since tried to get us unstuck at that part and had a pretty hard time with it. I don't know if there's like an input lag or why I found that easier on the tiny Vita screen compared to a full-size TV on the PS4. But it's really strange. I genuinely wonder if it's like...
I didn't realize you went back to try to fix it.
Yeah, I tried to like get past that sequence so we could finish it, but I just, both times I tried, I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'm just not feeling this. And, but maybe we'll finish it so y'all can hear the rest of the music. But, yeah.
How bold of you to assume that I hadn't gone and listened to the soundtrack?
Yeah. But, really, really fun little game. Glad I finally went back and played it for myself instead of just watching, a YouTuber play it. Funny enough, the person who I watched play that game back in the day is a guy that goes by, like, British Let's Play guy that goes by Piece of Pie Software. And,
Pizza Pie?
Well, Piece of Pie, but yeah, but he was doing Let's Plays, like, in the early days, like 2009, 2010, kind of early days. And, he would play a lot of survival horror games and a lot of PC shooters, and I watched him play all of the Doom games and all, like, Doom, Fear, Amnesia, Penumbra, all of those, and which kind of brings me to the other digital download game that I finished this year, which was the 25th anniversary remaster of Quake 2.
Oh yeah.
Which was pretty cool because Quake 2 is one of my favorite id games, even though it does get a lot of hate from certain outrage merchants online. And
didn't that just hard drop?
Yeah, they literally announced it at QuakeCon and said it's out today. Download it now. It was so funny.
Yeah.
And famously, Trent Reznor, who did the soundtrack for the original Quake, it's this really chilling ambient music. They asked him to come back and do the soundtrack for Quake 2, and he was like, "This game has no atmosphere," and he didn't do it. But they got another group called Sonic Mayhem, which is like a smaller little indie group that did some rock and metal music for the game, and
I'm familiar with them.
it sounds really good, and very iconic game soundtrack from the era. But I love Quake 2. This is a really faithful remaster. I have never played the expansions for it because I played it on the Xbox 360 port that came free with Quake 4, is how I originally played Quake 2. And I've since played on PC, but I've never played any of the expansions to it. And the expansions you would have had to have purchased separately on PC, so I just never did. But they're good. Some of them are a little bit overwhelming, and some of them added new AI behaviors to certain enemies that didn't exist in the vanilla version of the game. So there's an enemy, for instance, that is a dedicated melee fighter. Like all he does is run up to you and try to hit you with melee. And he's a bit of a bullet sponge, but they were always really, really easy to dodge in the vanilla version of the game. And somewhere in one of those expansions, they added an attack for this enemy where he will literally leap across the entire screen to hit you. And it's just like, it does not matter where you are, how far away. If he does this, he will hit you no matter what. And so throughout the entire vanilla game and all of the expansions, I'm constantly getting hit by this enemy, and I'm like, this is infuriating. I hate this change. But I haven't played and of course they made entirely new levels for this remaster. There's a fourth expansion that has entirely new levels, and I've played a few of those, but I'm holding off until I go and do the I want to play some of the other like side projects first. Like I want to play like Sigil for Doom and play the machine game levels for Quake 1 before I play that one. But I did finish the main campaign of the Quake 2 remaster, and it was very fun to go back and play because it is one of my favorite id games, and it deserved this quality of a remaster so much. I was so hyped for it when it first came out, and pretty much just binged it all the way to completion in like a day and a half. Played the shit out of it when it came out. You got one more before I talk about the last two games I finished?
You want to talk about the last two together, or did you want to?
I guess we can split it up, and I'll talk about one. You talk about one.
Then, yeah.
So, this I finished beginning of November, I want to say. This was pretty late in the year, and I was hoping to have finished it by the end of the year. I set out specifically to finish it by the end of the year.
Yeah, you're playing a lot of it in the spoopy month.
Yeah, it was a dedicated Halloween game. What can I say? But it was supposed to be a Halloween game for last year, which was the third Yomawari game, Yomawari Lost in the Dark. So I got the Platinum Trophy on the first two games, which were, of course, on the Vita. I found out the first game originally released as it was exclusive to the Vita and PC, the first game was, and since then it's been ported to the Switch and whatnot. And I think you can get this whole trilogy digital download on the Switch, but got the collector's edition for this. This game was phenomenal. It's interesting because this trilogy has such humble roots, and I'm not a big survival horror fan. I think I talked about this when I talked about the first game last year when talking about the Platinum Trophy. But like, I'm not a big survival horror fan, and I would not be surprised if this series does not satisfy a lot of survival horror fans, because horror is like a very niche interest that when people get into it, they get like really into it, and they are I'm assuming if you're like a horror enthusiast, you have like certain standards, and I just don't know how this series holds up. Like it's very simple, it's very humble, but that's exactly what I find so appealing about it. I love the art style, I love the setting. Very, very simple gameplay, not a whole lot really going on in terms of the mechanics, just running away from ghosts and other monsters. But and the first game especially is just very small and humble and doesn't really do a whole lot of things that are overly ambitious. But as the series goes on, it does get more and more ambitious with what it does with a simple formula. And so this game added a couple of new mechanics. It added the mechanic of being able to like close your eyes and walk in the dark to avoid certain enemy types. And so there are certain enemies that will only aggro if you look at them. And so being able to like close your eyes and walk past them with your eyes closed is like how you're supposed to avoid them. And it builds a lot of tension because you're like, well, I can't fucking see because my eyes are closed. So you're like, how do I? And because you've watched me play the entire first game now, you kind of know how these games work. And I gotta say, now that I've finished this one, the act of exploring the town is usually one of the more engaging parts of these games, where it's just like you're exploring the town, and that's honestly when you feel the most like in danger, because you don't know if a random ghost is gonna pop out of somewhere and just kill you. And so like navigating the town and getting to the next like mission area is some of the most memorable parts of the first two games, because there's like, and you saw this in certain times when we playing this, where it's like it's relentless the amount of things that are chasing
I was like,
you.
this game, because I remember like just kind of watching you play it while we were just coexisting together, and just being like, it's like nonstop in this game. I don't remember it being that bad in like the first or second game, but I'm like, you are like they are like up your ass on like enemies and the different kinds. Like I think there was a lot of times where I was like,
yeah, because I'll be like running away from one enemy, and then like a second different enemy will come around the corner, and then a third even more different enemy will come around the corner, and you're just like, God, just get me away from all this shit.
the anxiety. Like I wasn't even playing it, but if I was, I would have just panicked and died. Like, I am glad that I get to watch you play these games, and I'm not the one playing it, because the flight or fight is not even existent. It is fear. It is just panic, and it's like, where do I go, what do I do, and then die.
But that part of the game, the exploring the town part, I thought was more underwhelming in this game compared to the first two. I didn't like that part of it as much, and I feel like the reason why is because it is the third time around of doing kind of the same thing. But also good, huge chunks of the map are inaccessible to you for a good part of the game because of the main antagonist. And so there's like parts of the map where you're like, oh, I can't go there because it's like literally, if I go there, I'll just die immediately kind of thing. And I didn't like that part about it. I wanted to be able to explore the entire map and do the missions. Because you are able to do the missions in kind of a non-linear order, which is nice. And so while that aspect of the game I thought was a little bit worse than the first two, the individual mission areas were extremely memorable. And the bosses, holy shit, the bosses in this game are just completely unhinged.
I watched a couple of those
Giant starfish god boss was like so memorable. The like weird baby dimension boss was like nightmare fuel.
The starfish one was just memorable because of just how you had to like move around in it. It was like you like couldn't see where the hell you were going because it was like blocked off. It was wild watching some of it, and I obviously don't know the full story of it because I didn't watch every inch of the story part for it. But what I watched, it was like, holy shit, this is really cool, really intense, and like I'm glad you have the controller because I would have died 500,000 times.
Yeah. The bosses, there's like 6, I think, main bosses before like the final boss. They're all like extremely memorable. Oh, they were so cool. And they were not extremely punishingly difficult either. There was a lot of like a mid-stage like checkpoint things like in the middle of the boss where you get like a little continuation.
A mercy.
Which, going back and finishing the first one for our game night, how you, me, and our friend finished the first one. The first one is not that forgiving. The first one will just bullshit kill you for no reason. And I got kind of accustomed to that. And so for this one to actually have like more of a focus on balance, was kind of nice, not gonna lie. And until the final boss of this game. The final boss of this game is actual bullshit, but now that I know the strategy, I think I will be able to do it again. But yeah, the final boss of this one will just... You have to do a pretty relentless marathon of not dying to have any chance of surviving the final boss in this game. It is actually just kind of bullshit. And I almost put the game down at some point because I was dying so much on the final boss. But the story in this game... probably also more interesting than the story of the first two. Your main character, you always play as some little girl in these games, a little Japanese girl that may or may not have a strange relationship with her parents. We don't know. Her parents seem to be very comfortable with her sneaking out at night, clearly. But your main character gets bullied a lot, and your main character is maybe 9. And she makes good friends with an older girl who's 12 or 13. And they become really good friends, and she looks up to her. And then, obviously spooky stuff happens, and you lose a bunch of your memories. And so each stage in the game is you remembering a memory that you lost, or where you discarded a part of your memories because you weren't courageous enough. And it's you trying to reconcile with your lack of courage in those previous moments and how you're trying to make that right in the future. It's really interesting stuff, but then you get all your memories back, and then you go and confront the final boss, and you get a intentional fake out ending where the credits roll, but they roll super quickly, and it's clearly an insincere fake out ending where it's there's clearly more, and the game is outright telling you that there's clearly more.
You missed something.
And I'm I don't know that I like those type of fake out endings in games, because it wasn't the only game I played somewhat recently that did that. Last year I played the game Control by Remedy that also had a fake out ending where the credits roll, and then the credits start to crumble away weirdly, and it cuts right back to the game, and you're whoa, what's happening? And I don't know that I like that that narrative twist of a fake out ending, or that the optimal ending of a story can be missable. I just don't know that I like that, but that's a whole nother topic for another day. But what you have to do is you have to go back through the memory flashbacks, and you have to use a almost hidden mechanic to reveal the truth about your memories, and once you've done that to all of them, you have access to the true final level. And I thought that was a little bit too cryptic. I didn't like how cryptic that was. I thought that it's very easy to just not be able to figure that out without looking it up. But the payoff for it and the story that is revealed to you at the end, oh my god, it's so heartbreaking. This was a just gut-wrenching story.
Honey Nut Filios?
Yeah, in its simplicity, doing very little with itself, it still manages to be very, very sad. And just with what little it's trying to do, it's very effective at that little micro story that it's trying to tell. And if they don't make any more of these, if they just leave it as a trilogy, I'm very, very happy with just how sincere and how humble these 3 games have been, and how it's just been a little journey of a very honest and sincere piece of art that is not trying to be a trendsetter or a game changer. It's just out here doing its own thing and being very honest about that. I'll always remember them for that reason. Ooh,
the stack is trying to escape.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. All right, so the last game that I started and had to take a break on because it's just a lot is the Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life. It is a remake of a Harvest Moon game. And so, as a result, there's some changes. But for the most part, from what I understand, because I did not play the original game, it's a very good remake and very true to the game, other than some of the changes that they made with certain characters. I like it. So this is one of the few Harvest Moon Story of Season games that has an ending. There is an ending. I haven't gotten to that ending. That's why I say that I'm not done yet. That's why it's even being brought up as a game that I can finish, because there is an ending for it. It was a birthday present from my friend, who also really loves this series, so we bond and play a lot together. We ended up picking the same marriage candidate, to the surprise of nobody.
Right.
When I first started playing it, I was really worried, because I was like, ooh. I remember messaging her going, am I doing this right? And she gives me the most vague ass answer, and I'm like, I don't know if I like this, because I don't know if I'm messing this up. Like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. And the way she answered it, I was like, is this the right thing? And it turns out it is. I find it very interesting because it's your premise, like your typical premise. You're leaving the big city to start a simple life. But it has like emphasis on like, you need to get married, you have to have kids. One kid, who my daughter I love, and raise a farm, and you're supposed to find these, like, not memories. I forget what the Harvest Sprite calls them. I hadn't played it in a couple months. I really enjoy Story of Season games. The problem with them, for me, is that sometimes it gets really repetitive. Like, I find myself constantly doing the same thing. Like, the dialogue's always the same. You're doing the same farm chores in the same order, doing the same thing in the same order, and it's kind of repetitive. So it's like, I'm kind of grateful for the fact that the actual months in this game are not like full 30 days like they are in some Harvest Moon Story of Season games, that it's only like 14, 15, something like that. It is the months are like in half. So you get through the year a lot faster, because there's only ever spring, summer, fall, and winter. So I appreciate the fact that like the years are shorter, because if I had to play like full like 30 days of these games like you do in other games, I would not be having a fun time with it.
Yeah.
But it's, I think, really interesting watching characters get older. And each time skip is a different part of your life in the eyes of a different character, basically, where he's like basically writing a letter to your grandfather or your father or whatnot, kind of talking about how much your character's growing and what changes happen and whatnot. So it's really interesting, the perspective of it. I really look forward to finishing it, but I have to put it down because sometimes it gets repetitive and boring, and then I'm like, I don't want to play this, I want to sleep. So, but I'm really enjoying it. I really like it. I really like all the characters. And I look forward to seeing what the ending is, because I never played the original source material. So I really don't. I know of the ending, but I really don't know how it feels to have that ending. So I look forward to the feeling of that ending. I love my precious child. The first year of having her was great. The second year kind of sucks because she won't let me hold her anymore. She's like, I'm a big kid. I want to be held. I'm like, bitch, I'm your mother. Let me cuddle you. And I can't cuddle my child
Literally
anymore.
Parenthood in a nutshell.
It is. I'm like, I know how you feel, Mom. I'm so sorry. And she's like, you weren't the problem child. And I'm like, okay. She's like, you always wanted cuddle. So it's like, okay, good. But like, let me hug my child, God damn it. Like, please. Like, why do they get older and then you can't interact with them at all? It's so frustrating. I think certain things like that, it's like,
Literally just parenthood, yeah.
But even like with like your spouse, I married Matthew, because he's the tsundere character, and he like will straight up ask you, how's life for you? And you can have like different options, and it's like, I don't know, it's the same, man. Like, what am I supposed to say? Like, there's nothing special about, like, about it. Like, there's not, it's not like Animal Parade where, like, you're making me lunches and we have like date nights and stuff like that, like other games do. Like it's good, my guy. It's the same as always. So I'm like, it's really frustrating because like the limit dialogue and there's other games that is a little bit more expansive of it, but if it is just based off the true, like if it's just a remake of the older games, it's kind of unfair to like compare it to a game that came after like the original, where there's improvements on it. But as far as it goes, I like it. And I look forward to finishing it and talking to my friend about it, because we both played this game and she got it for me, and I really appreciate her giving me like the little special collection that has the little goat. She also got me the Pioneer Town one where I got the little cow. So like, I really appreciate the fact that every year these games, like every time these games come out, they always come out like right before my birthday. So she's got a designated birthday gift for me.
Yeah. All right, I guess on to my final game, which I finished
2 days ago?
Within the last week for sure.
Yeah, 3 days
so
ago?
I wanted badly to finish this game before the year ended, and I like went out of my way to do it, and it was so. That's one of the reasons why this year feels so good coming out of the end of it, is like adequate time with friends, careers back on track, finished a new video right at the end of the year with an even better one coming out at the beginning of the year, and then like it's like, ooh, one more game finished right before the end of the year, right before the year ended, and it was a good one. It's probably my favorite favorite game that I finished this year that was a newly completed game I never completed before. Which is, it's pretty much just between that and Yomori. It's like new games that I never that and Halo Infinite, but like this was probably the best game that I played this year that I finished for the first time, and that was Odin Sphere. This is specifically the Le Fraisier version, the remake version. So this was originally released on the PS2. I own that version, but I never played it. And then this remake came out for the PS3, 4, and Vita. And I mainly played this on the Vita. This collector's edition was actually kind of an impulse buy at a local Steel Collectibles place I get a lot of games from. And so I would sometimes upload my save file from the cloud save from the Vita to cloud storage, and then from cloud storage to the PS4, and just swap back and forth between the two versions. It's like, the Switch before the Switch was invented, kind of like cross-play, which I thought was really cool. So I could play this on the TV or on the handheld on the same save file, which was awesome. But this is an incredible game, and it is a side-scrolling action RPG where instead of moving like strictly left to right, every single zone of the map is a sphere, which I'm sure is where the name comes from, where it's just a round circle where you loop around like that, and the connecting points to other little circles are at certain points. So you the map is not just a linear, like a Mario stage, it is a bunch of interconnected circles, and it's really strange how that works, but it is probably some of the most fun 2D side-scrolling combat in any game I've ever played. It is quick and responsive controls. Every character feels powerful and fun to use, and it never gets old. Now, I would sometimes play it in very small sessions. I think I first started the Vita version in like 2017 or something like that, because this was one of the first games I got for the Vita. So it was probably like late 2016 when I first got it. So took an eternity to finish this game because it was about 30 hours, but the first 7 hours was like just the first character, because I was figuring out the gameplay and the mechanics and everything, and playing as Gwendolyn there, the Valkyrie, and every single character plays fantastically, and they all have these different stories that interconnect with each other. A lot of this is based on a lot of the Norse mythology mythos, where you have different groups like the Aesir, which has Odin and the Valkyries and all that, and you have like the Fae people with the fairies of the forest and everything, and you have the underworld and all the where souls go to die and everything, and everything in between. You even have like a fire kingdom with people that are just like literally made of fire and everything. And the way that it's presented is you begin the game as this little girl picking up these storybooks and reading about these fairy tales. And so it has this sort of this just beautiful, gorgeous fairy tale art style to all the environments. And again, you play as all these different characters that are all in sort of different factions that all have conflicting interests, and you sometimes fight against the other characters sometimes. And the only thing I didn't like about that, and I think it's because I played this very gradually over a very long period of time, is that and if I had just paid better attention, or if I binged it and played it in a shorter period of time, that I would have been able to notice how the different storylines intersect with each other, because it was very hard for me to tell if this event is happening for this character, then where does that line up for when this event happens with this character? You know what I mean? Like it didn't feel like it was 5 separate non-canon stories that had nothing to do with each other. It felt like it was 5 different stories happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
And it's hard to pinpoint where one event happens with one character. How does that line up with another character? Like that never really quite meshed with me until the ending. The ending is so cool because it's, you're trying to stop Ragnarok. You're trying to stop the end of the world. There's this magic cauldron thing that's been created to basically harvest like all the magic in the land and bring about Armageddon. And the main cast is basically trying to stop that. And lots of the other important figures in the story, like Odin, are trying to gain control over it because, like any god in any mythology, he's, a greedy bastard who sleeps around a little too much and has many estranged children.
Oh.
And but yeah, wonderful cast of characters. I just again, certain parts of the story didn't quite land for me, but those little things forgiven. Gameplay is like a 9 out of 10, and the only thing I didn't like about the gameplay is like the only way you level up your character's stats is by like eating the food.
I think that's great.
And so it's this, and apparently, according to what I've heard, it's been significantly improved in this version over the original PS2 version. But the process of like planting the seeds, growing the trees, cutting the fruit down, and eating the fruit, watching the animation play out of eating the fruit is like, it is kind of pointless busy work. Now, when you go to the Rabbit Cafe and you have the food like served to you, and it's like that's a very like Vanillaware thing. They love their food in their games, and so the food is presented in this beautiful art style, and it looks really cool.
Oh, it looks so yummy. It looks so yummy.
Yeah, so I don't really like it. It's funny considering that Final Fantasy X is my favorite game. I don't typically like RPGs that have like an alternate leveling system. I'd rather you just give me the level up when I beat the enemies than having me go through a bunch of tedious menus and do a bunch of extra busy work to do it. But I developed a rhythm over the course of the game, and so after finishing, Gwendolyn, finishing the first character, moving on to the next character, it was like I have a rhythm for where I like to stop and level up, and they actually have certain parts in every stage called rest areas where they basically tell you, hey, you should probably stop here and reconsider your loadout and level up here if you would like to. So it's very intelligently designed for that reason. Yeah, like I said, there were parts of the story that didn't quite land for me, and some of the characters are not portrayed very well. Like Gwendolyn in particular, like I love her to death, but she has this. She just comes across as very pitiful in a lot of her scenes, where the whole thing with the Valkyries is they're just like, oh, I can't wait to die well on the battlefield and sacrifice myself, and that's the whole point of my existence. And so she spends like a good chunk of her story just being very pitiful, and I just didn't find that satisfying. But she gets better. The English dub was also very good, and you could play this in English or Japanese, and both are very solid. But the English dub is very, very good. I want to say that what the hell is her name?
Velvet?
Velvet. Yeah, thank you. Is voiced by Michelle Ruff.
Oh, okay.
The trying to think. The King Valentine is voiced by Troy Baker, I want to say, and I didn't quite know how I felt about that because he doesn't sound like an old man. Like, he just sounds like, but like, you know how pissed off like Mitsunari gets, like in Basara kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
Imagine like a decrepit old skeleton man like screaming like Mitsunari. It's actually pretty
God.
great. I'm very excited to play the other Vanillaware games. Obviously, there's Dragon's Crown, there's Muramasa. I think our friend Sam will break my legs if I don't play 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim.
Correct. He actually said that.
Yeah, he said exactly that. And then, but I'm happy to have one of their games done and out of my backlog before their new game, Unicorn Overlord, comes out in March of next year. So
Very excited about it.
yeah.
So I guess before we talk about our future, one of the significant parts of my year is over here on this side. I got a lot of plushies this year. I got oodles of plushies. So we're going to start by like most recent to like as well as I can remember backwards. So for Christmas, I got oodles of plushies. Alejandro got me this little guy.
This round
This
thing.
rotund boy. And it came like Fox has
Egg.
an egg for one of her cosplays, and he was like, put it in there. And she goes, okay. And I opened the egg, and the way he comes out of this little egg, perfectly like facing everybody, and my face was just like,
Because he was like crammed in there, and so the top of the egg comes off, and he just
He's like,
he
"Hello."
like foofs out, and the nose just boing. Like it was
it was like
perfect.
cartoony at best. But yeah, perfect. Like, there's no other word for a plushie like this. And y'all all get to experience the serotonin I get when I get a new plushie as well. But, like, perfection. I also...
round.
He is round. I also got another little rotund boy from...
Yeah, all of your Christmas gifts from me were plushies. It
Pretty
really
much.
was you all plushies.
So, I have a Fuecoco now. He is cute. And he's a little hot pepper, and he's winking, and I love him, and I think he's great. And now I guess I just need a Quaxley, and I'll have all of the starters for Gen 9. But I love him. He's cute. He's a good boy. I like him a lot. And then everybody knows I am obsessed with flamingos, and he's floppy.
He's a very floppy legs.
He's a little floppy lad. He's floppy everywhere.
Did you see the picture I sent you of like when I picked them up, where
He's like in the bag.
his head is just sticking up out of the bag, and the Fuecoco is on the side.
I think he's great. I love him. I love flamingos. So I love how floppy is little. So he made me happy. And then the last plushie I got for Christmas was Melfi Rabby. He's dense. He's a dense lad, and he's got little magnets in his hands to hold his hands like that, and to hold his little friend, which is great. I love how bowling ball pin looking ass.
Yeah.
But he's so cute. I love the embroidery of his eyes. It looks perfect. The ears bend. Everything about him is just perfect and snuggly, and I love him, and I love Melfi. So it's a win-win for me, because it's just a good baby. And now Rescue Cat has a buddy with him as far as like Pokemon,
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh monsters in the same deck together, vibing together. So yippee! And then I need to think. I believe I got.
This one actually was the.
He was next because
Yeah.
AWA. Piplup was before AWA. So AWA was a choice between this little guy or Stunfisk, which Stunfisk would have been a funny joke, but our friends got Espeon and Glaceon that are in the same style as this. Super soft, minky, but it is the style of this plushie is adorable. So he can stand, like he can sit, he can stand, and he can sploot. He can sploot.
Because they put the beans in his feet to give him more support.
But yeah, he got the more support, but also the way they designed the plushie allows his legs to bend in a little sploot. He's floppy, he's cute, he's got a little Christmas pendant on because we're festive today. It's the day after Christmas to date this. And then just, I love him. I love Shinx. It's my favorite Pokemon. The Luxray line is my favorite. So the immense joy I have gotten out of this plushie alone was worth every dollar that was spent on him. I love you. The only thing is that's weird to me is that his eyes are fluffy, and I kind of wish they were all the same like soft material but not fuzzy. Like
Yeah.
It's weird, but it's all right. He's cute. He makes up for it in the sploots. I'm gonna set him over here. The next plushie I got was the Squishmallow Piplup. We were soul searching this, me and Fox. She found it at work. She got it for me. He's rotund. The urge to kick it like a soccer ball is so real. I just want to throw this thing around. It is just round. So soft. I love Squishmallows. I don't want a lot of Squishmallows, but I definitely enjoyed the fact that they chose Piplup, which is one of my favorite Gen 4 starters. And we all know how much I love Gen 4, so Piplup is definitely my favorite one out of them. So happy to have a round boy. Look at him, perfectly rotund. I think the next one would be Sprigatito, the Build-A-Bear Sprigatito. We went and visited friends in Alabama, and we went to Build-A-Bear, and it was a magical experience with me and Jonathan because he also got an Eevee, and we're 29 years old, surrounded by children, getting Pokemon plushies made, playing patty cake while we waited in line to pay for them. So
that is the Pokemon experience. Is kids these days seeing 30-year-olds enjoying Pokemon.
Right, and I think that, and again, I think that's what I really enjoy about the Pokemon as a franchise is that it really, just watching the younger generation enjoy Pokemon has been really fun. I feel that way about, like, the Sonic stuff, too, because, like, the amount of Sonic plushies I see, now compared to when I was super into it, I'm like, kids these days are so lucky. My mom went through so much struggle to get all the Sonic merch I had, so they better know they're blessed because it was harder for us. But he's perfect. He's like actually bigger than my cat.
Yeah.
He's actually bigger than Aster. So super cuddly. I love Build-A-Bear quality like plushies. They're just so good. And he's not the only Build-A-Bear I got this year. The next one was Smoliv, because I got him at MomoCon. I have never fallen in love with a Pokemon so fast. He was announced and I was like, I am in love. He is a worried little lad. I love olives in general. Like, I consume an ungodly amount of olives, but I will never consume you. I also spent, actually, I lied. There was a different plushie that was before him. I will show off in a minute. I actually will just show it off at the end. But I spent my birthday stream hunting for a shiny one. We got her. She's a little dude. Little black olive, which is my favorite olive. So super cute. Another just round baby. The next one would probably be Ruby over here. It's the Mana Moon Ruby. When it came out, like it was announced, I picked me an All A Up one, and they came at the same time. She's perfect. She is just the perfect cuddle shape. You just hold her and you can just lay, and she's a perfect little cuddle. The only thing is that this is like tetherball material.
Our cat likes to mess with
and I have to be like, I have to be very careful where I place her because Astra will put claws in this, and this is not material that's easy to fix. But it's like the perfect kind of material for this little orb anyway, so I think it's great. I kind of like the little satisfying tetherball thud noise, but a perfect shaped plushie for a snuggle. The snuggle factor is there. And then at Comic-Con, I got Snom. Now I can say this because I know my mom will not ever watch this video. I paid $50 for him.
Was it that much?
He was about $50. I told my mom I spent $30. So, because my mom's like, I have a problem. I do have a problem, but
He the him, he's
he the him,
bug.
he hum, he eat a bug.
Yep.
And I got a shiny on the way home, so of him. I tripped on it, and it's not noticeable, but he's perfect. He's also a round boy, also perfect for cuddling. I like how his little pinchers are separated so you can actually tell they're pinchers and they don't look like butt cheeks. So I really appreciate that. This part though, not my favorite. Everyone laughs at it. It's his legs.
Yeah.
They look like nipples. Censor the nipples. But they're not nipples. They're supposed to be his little legs that he walks on. Like, quit calling them nipples!
Those are definitely his nipples. Notice that it's so symmetrical.
And then at the beginning of this year, I got the Build-A-Bear Sylveon. I actually got me and Ole one, but it came out right before her birthday, so I was able to send it. Really like this. I really like the fact that the ribbons can be Velcroed to its butt. It's a
For
very
storage.
or just so it stays in place, and whatnot, or you can mess with it. It's designed, and you can also move this one around too. Like it's designed for little kids to play with, and because Build-A-Bear's for once again Build-A-Bear's for little kids, but I'm 29 and I can indulge, and I have adult money that I can spend. So I don't usually name my Pokemon plushies, but this is Justice. He's a beautiful baby boy, and his twin brother's name is Astral. So, and he is in Texas with Ole. So, but Justice is a good boy. And then this was a birthday present. Totally forgot, but it works out because you have a plushie over there too that we can show off. I got a Yahaha. It was crafted by the Cashew, and she also crafted a good boy for Clinton for Christmas.
This perfect creature who is without fault. He is just he's like properly chunky on the bottom as well. Like he has the perfect Quagsire proportions. I love how like vibrant this purple is back here too.
Yeah, it is like
He also has like the thud of his thick tail.
I love handmade gifts. They make me happy, and me and her have had a lot of like talks because she also crochets. So me and her kind of had a good time bonding over it. Like when we were doing cosplay stuff, she made a guinea pig.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun just watching her indulge and be happy about it because she gets it. She gets me. And but I got a little yahaha, and it was wrapped in a little paper, and she made like a sticker that says "You found me," and I have that still. So I appreciate just how cute, and I love Koroks, so it makes me really happy, and you love Quagsire, so it makes me very happy, and I just love it, and he's a little Dinsmoy too, because she put so much stuffing in him.
Yeah, handmade gifts definitely hit me in the feels for sure, and I will cherish the shit out of this little guy because he is one of a kind, and there's no other one like him out there. And that she made this with her own two hands, I will always appreciate.
It also saves me the struggle of having to find a Quagsire plushie because it sucks. It's not easy, but this year was a great plushie year for me, and next year might be some trouble because they're slowly re-releasing all the Evolution ones at Build-A-Bear, so hopefully next end of year video, there's a Glaceon.
Yeah.
Because I missed it, and I like Glaceon. It's one of my favorite. Glaceon and Joltik. Not Joltik. Jolteon.
Yeah.
I do need a Joltik, though.
Yeah.
So maybe, we'll see. Maybe Stunfisk will make it into the collection. We'll see, but...
For memes.
For memes and for torture, and I have a shiny one now, so I deserve it. So, that's the plushie thing. So,
Well,
future.
yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for sticking with this video for so long. We had a lot to say. We had a lot to cover. Like I said, this was a good year.
It was.
So that's why we had so much to talk about. And I just, like I said at the beginning, I could not be happier with 2023 as far as it being a good year to be fans of what we were fans of and to be artists, to be content creators. Our friends just made it worth it so much. Like the game we're on right now is Okami.
I'm loving it.
We are playing Okami on the Xbox One version of the HD collection, which I know seems kind of random compared to what I've just shown y'all. But we're about halfway through the game, and everybody's having a fantastic time. And
I have never loved a game so much in my life.
yeah,
I say that jokingly, but I really am enjoying just the artsy, quirky funness of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm sure I'll talk about this more when it's on next year's recap video, but I forgot how goofy this game is.
It's so cheesy.
Almost all of the dialogue in this game is delivered in this very insincere, jokey tone, because I guess they're kind of making fun of the fact that the NPCs are talking to a dog, basically.
Yeah.
But
It is a dog.
they're having such a good time with that, and I'm getting such a personal payoff out of doing the game night games with you and our best friends, because there's just, to me, that's so much more value than just playing a game for myself. And there's so many cool games on the game night list that we're looking forward to playing. After Okami, I'll see if you guys want to do a shorter game, but it might be a coin toss between either starting Mass Effect 1 or starting Final Fantasy 7, and I'm definitely very excited about both of those games. But as far as future projects go, I'll probably be taking a bit of a break at the beginning of the year, but I'm going to be break from making specifically video essays because I have that huge video coming out in January, and it should be up on or before the 6th, and then I'll be taking a break. I'll be finishing the Dark of the Moon video, the Fist of the North Star video, and then the sky's the limit from there.
I will, so as far as like art-wise for me, I have reference sheets that I have started that I did not finish because I got a little distracted on some side projects. There's actually a project I started at the beginning of this year that I hadn't really touched that I might come and touch again, just get my fingers all up in it again. I also plan on working more on the sticker sheets as well as like maybe a wave 2 of like the cupcake designs for some other characters, especially if I get a good reaction out of them, which I've teased them and people are really liking them in like my little small group settings. So those are like the art things that I'm working on, but next year might be a little bit of like a cosplay year for me because I got 3 things that I kind of want to finish.
Yeah.
One of which was like to talk about things that we did in 2023. We binged watched all Basara.
Yeah. And I have been telling her ever since we first started dating that she was going to like Sengoku Basara, but she randomly took the initiative this year to be like, I want to finish the whole series, and just binged both seasons of the anime and the movie.
And so first on the list of cosplays is Masamune. You already cosplay Kojiro, which is actually my favorite character.
Yeah.
And so just the idea of, I like Masamune as well. Yeah, you like Masamune as well? Anyways, I like Gremlin characters. I actually look forward to a character where he's grumpy, but he's also just a little shit. So I look forward to not being a grumpy, serious character. I look forward to kind of being a little extra and a little bit wild. Mm-hmm. And also just the height difference between us is going to be hilarious.
Very funny, yeah.
With these. And I also got Jonathan to watch all of Basara, so there's a great chance we will have a Yukimura as well. So I will have my right eye and my rifle. And so I look forward to also holding 6 swords like a jackass. So I look forward to making that. The goal is Momocon.
Yeah.
I also want to do Lynn from Fire Emblem because she's been on the list for 20 years, and I did Celica first.
I think we almost had a hard drive space.
Huh?
Almost had a hard drive space.
Oh, shit. What do you want to do?
Just keep going as long as
And then, so Lynn, I want to do, and then Teardrop from Rika, the Rika Queen. I want to do that for A-Con. It was supposed to be for AWA, but AWA turned into some December date, so I really don't know. Do you want to talk about your cost plans?
Not really.
And then I guess games for me are like Mario RPG. I started playing Mario and Luigi Superstars, and then I'm going to buy the DLC for Pokemon because I want a shiny hunt in it. But other than that, it looks like for me it's going to be artsy and cosplay, so I may end up next year not having as many games.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I think
We'll
my
see.
game finish list will be quite a bit longer next year because I have some shorter titles that I want to just like binge and finish in these first like 3 months of the year, and I think I'll finish some longer RPGs as well. Like I really want to finish Dragon Quest V. I really want to finish Soul Hackers 2, and I really want to finish Tales of Arise.
Ooh,
So-
yeah. Tales of Arise. I want to kind of watch you play some more of that.
Yeah. Cool. So we will see you guys next year in 2024.